Just waiting for Jim and Joe to give me some good news. It's 8 o'clock. Where are you guys? Waiting for my good news. Get your fat ass sunlight already.
We've even seen a referee 2 feet from the play on the sideline staring at the guy trying to catch the ball, staring at where his feet are, and still calls him out.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
Brees is a Hall of Famer, absolutely, and showing that he could possibly be the GOAT.
All right, but I gotta say something about the New England Patriots here. The Patriots kept coming out and saying before the Super Bowl even happened, they kept saying, "Oh, well, everybody's against us." Bullshit.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, everybody? All you know-it-alls out there, welcome back for another edition of Football on the Show. Let's get going. I can't wait. Let's go and talk football. We got preseason games that just happened.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's collisions. I'm all jacked up. Let's go.
I'm so jacked, dude. I'm losing my voice already. This is crazy. I can't stand this.
Come
I
on,
can't be
get
a
in
voice.
the game. Get in the game, bro.
I can't believe I can't do the shove. I keep losing my voice now. It sounds funny. And Hollywood Gaming is already checking in, but you know what? He says he is Hollywood Gaming no more.
No more.
I am now Swervo Gaming.
All
Swervo.
right.
I like it. Cool.
Swervo.
Check it out. He's still gaming, though. He's a gamer.
That's right.
Excellent, man. It's good to see
Excellent.
him in
Welcome
here,
back,
dropping in
buddy.
here early. That's awesome to hear. It's always good. I'm going to give him the
As always.
Yeah.
He's in the
man,
house.
but, yeah, like we
and
said-
early
No,
in
yeah,
the house, right
definitely,
off the
definitely.
get-go. He's starting off early, so
Yep. And
for everybody
we're right
else
on
out
time.
there, he's putting everybody on notice. All these other know-it-alls, you better, get in here and start getting interactive and try to compete with Swervo Gaming right now.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Now I'm going to have to change. Last week was Hollywood Gaming, so now this week
Yeah.
the MVP might be Swervo. You
But,
you never know.
Yeah, it might very well happen by
Let's
next
see how
week.
It goes. Yeah, who knows? But I got a new microphone, so I hope I sound better and things like that.
You
Things
do.
are working out. So
You definitely sound better.
we're working it.
I've been meaning to talk to you about
Excellent.
that.
Well, I'm
I've been
glad.
meaning
Well,
to bring.
I'm
I know
excited
I
about
didn't
that.
quite know how to bring it up to you,
Mhm.
and to say your voice sounds weird.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well,
know
no, it's
how
good,
to,
though.
but now
It's
I
better
think the
than
mic has done its job.
Excellent. Yeah, so like you said, preseason has started officially with everyone playing, and there are a lot of crazy headlines coming out of there. So
Definitely.
So I wanted to throw out the
A lot of overreactions.
Yeah,
That's for
definitely.
sure.
So that makes me throw out the question here: is what player or team are you most excited about after the first week here? Because that's what you heard a lot of times. Talk of the town. How does Kyler Murray look? We got to see him. We talked a little bit with that last game with you got to see Drew Lock's first start a little bit or play time. He didn't look so hot. You know what I mean? So you get to see some of these young quarterbacks get their play time and kind of see how they're looking finally
Right.
with some, under the big lights in the stadium, see how they do against a tough defense, semi-full speed or other guys trying to make the team, see how they did.
Mm-hmm.
And the talk around here was Daniel Jones. Already now it's like re-stirring up the
Ship
pool
off
the
Eli.
again. Yeah,
He's
they're
all
ready.
done.
Like, he's going to be the starter. And, yeah, here he goes. And Swervo joins in right here. He says, just saying, Daniel Jones looks so much better than Haskins. Yeah, I know he played the Jets, but still, yeah, I know exactly. Like, the thing is around here, it's kind of a joke. Is like we posted our reaction of Daniel Jones when he was drafted. We were there draft night and checked it out. And and I was surprised is only because I was hoping that they would pick him second later on and maybe get a top defender at that position at 6, but I wanted Daniel Jones the whole time. But I looked at the tape, and he seemed like the better quarterback for me for my dollar or what I was going to get for
what
the
the
picks.
Giants needed.
And, yeah, I think it fit the system better. Had some legs, and even though he had limited play time, I liked what I saw, and he seemed like he was my type of player here for the Giants, was a good fit. So then when he played, and he played decently well, I was excited about that.
Right.
Some of it was still raw. A lot of people even say, he dropped it right where it needed to
100%.
on that touchdown, which he put it in a good placement, but still it could have been a
think
little
so.
earlier. But yeah, I think overall he looked good. You can't get any better than 5 for 5. 158 quarterback.
I'm sorry, he's
rating,
doing
so-
something right.
Yeah. And he says right here, this is great too, because he's right along with me. He's right on the same path here. He says he's definitely not a starter. Eli is the man for the whole year. I hope he just let him grow and mature behind Eli. And that's what
100%.
John Mara has just came out and said. He's been getting interviewed a lot, and he's coming out and saying they say it's funny with the people who ask the questions here, trying to trick you around, or then, when it's posted, people read headlines and then want to overreact. I've seen so many people on social media today, Giants fans, said Mara is trash. He's been ruining our franchise forever. He's old. He needs to shut up. Just because people, they want to isolate him saying, he goes, they want to isolate him because he was quoted for saying he never wants to see Daniel Jones this whole season. He wanted to.
Okay.
And it's taken out of text because when they asked him, he's like, what would you like to see this year? He's like, well, my best thing I would love to see, is Eli play the whole year, and then we won't have to see Daniel Jones at all this season, and then, we'll put him in when he's ready.
Because that is the plan,
the ultimate
the
plan,
whole
right?
way through. The other thing, too, is what he actually said was he hopes he doesn't have to see Daniel Jones play. Because that's not
That
the
means
game.
they're even
the game
losing
plan
then, too.
is to have Eli Manning take over the starting quarterback duties throughout the whole entire year and go forward and groom Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Well, I understand the fan, the New York Giant fan. You're anxious. You're like, you got a new toy. Especially at a premier position like quarterback, and you want to see him do well. You drafted him in the first round. You want to see those guys get on the field early and grow with the team and everything. But when you have the luxury, not all teams have this. When you have the luxury of having a veteran quarterback who can still play at a high level, and you're able to groom the next guy, groom him for the future, and you don't have to rush him in, you do that. You take the you take the necessary steps, and don't rush him in there. Now, if you look at what the Redskins have, like he was just like Swervo Gaming was just mentioning in Haskins, I'm very high on Haskins coming out. I absolutely love the kid. I think he can develop into a very nice starter. Who knows how good, because development is key, but. They're in a unique position where they don't have the luxury that the Giants have. They have Case Keenum, mind you, who's been a career backup who just happened to start the past couple of seasons and hasn't been that great. He's been pretty mediocre, maybe even below average at best. And
Colt McCoy, who right now is currently number 1 in the depth chart, and he's fighting for a spot. So,
but even then, and that's the thing is they don't have a proven veteran, a guy that he can learn under, that he can develop under in Washington. So they're on a rocky ship over there. Whereas with the New York Giants, they have a proven veteran who can still play. It's not like his arm has diminished, where it's weak or he's having a hard time with figuring out where to go with the football in that aspect. So stay the course, be patient. New York Giant fans need to remain patient. Hope that you don't have to throw Daniel Jones in there. You know what I mean? Because you have Eli Manning. If your offensive line can hold up, Eli can take you far. Just saying. It's been proven in years past. And you look at his stats. Even on a terrible team, he's still able to put up about 4,000 passing yards, still able to put up double-digit touchdowns and single-digit interception ratios. So, I mean, he's proven to be good for the short term. Keep him in there. Keep him as a starter. You know what I mean? And don't rush the rookie in too soon.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the plan, and hopefully we'll stick to it. Just everybody wants to get hyped up, and a lot of the problem, too, is you hear it so much on the TV or the radio or internet how much or how terrible Eli is. So if you're told that all the time, and when you see Daniel Jones,
you're going to believe it.
And now if that's all you do, you just happen to hear the headlines as you go by. Right now the headlines are Daniel Jones is on fire. He shot through 100% and a touchdown. He looks great. So it's like, somebody hears Eli sucks, and now Daniel Jones is great. Well, put him in. Sounds good, And so let's take it back a little bit.
All right.
So Swervo Gaming, he chimes in here too. Could it be a Dak scenario? What if Eli goes down day down day for 3 weeks. If Jones wins those 3 games or even 2 out of 3, do you keep him starting? P.S. I don't see Eli getting hurt. Just a question. Yeah, I know. That's always a scenario, and just in case he does. And like we said, we've been kind of lucky that he hasn't really gone down with a major injury. He's even had finger issues, things like that, minor little things he's played through and still played well. And that's the thing too. He has to be He has to be commended for too.
Absolutely.
Being tough, playing through it all, and still managing to win some games when they were tough. And he's had to have this team on his back and on his shoulders so many times. I remember when McAdoo first came in, he's calling off signs at the line, and wide receivers are looking at each other and they're like, and then they run a different route, and he's like, no, you this way, and that. It's like, oh my God, that's what he was working with. So if you want to say he's been terrible and then dropping off,
he was working with
that's
a
what you're
bunch of
working
bums.
with, bro. Especially when there's injuries, and so. Could it be a Dak scenario? I don't see him getting injured, but I mean that's always an issue that you're probably going to deal with. You're going to hear people saying, "Oh yeah, he's playing well. He's got the hot hand. Maybe go with it." But we've seen teams that don't do that too. I mean, there's been other scenarios where other quarterbacks that came in. I mean, even look at Huntley. I think had played well,
Huntley,
even filling in for Aaron Rodgers when he was
just
down.
for a few
and people
weeks.
said even sit down Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season, let him go. And they're like, oh wait, we get an Aaron Rodgers. Even an injured Aaron Rodgers is better than.
Here's
Brett
the thing.
Hundley, so
I
that's
mean,
what they do.
if by some weird scenario happens to where Eli does get hurt, and you're right, and maybe Daniel Jones comes in and he does well enough to win a couple of games, 2 out of 3 games or whatever it is, or maybe all 3. I think you still go back to the veteran. You still go back because you need to be able to have that veteran for experience. So as you get farther in, especially like if I know people laugh at it and everything, but it's any given Sunday. So that's why they play the games. The Giants could be worst to first this year. They could be. It's a possibility. I know some people laugh at it, but it's possible for any team in the league. It's been done before. One team sucks one year, and in one offseason they managed to change. Look at the Rams. The Rams were terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Only a couple years ago. And when McVay took it over, he had to build that team, and then what do you know? All of a sudden they went to the Super Bowl within 2 years.
Oh yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
Then, the second season right after he joined, they were in the playoffs.
Right. So I mean, you it does happen. So but still, when you're taking a team for the long haul, you need that veteran leadership. You need the experience. So Daniel Jones would be right to just sit back behind Eli and learn more as they go.
Yeah, he says, I really like Fowler. I think he would be a big target for the first 4 weeks while Golden Tate is suspended.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. I really liked Reggie White Jr. out there. I think he looked really nice, as a wide receiver in there. There's a bunch of highlights with some of those players. On defense even, too. Was it Connolly, I think it was,
Connolly.
defense?
The middle linebacker.
Yeah, middle linebacker. He was playing well. He was always in the play.
If he doesn't make the team, somebody
Yeah.
scrape it, going in, swooping in and picking him up right away.
Yeah, so we got you see a lot of plays here and there. How about was it Kenny Young for the Baltimore Ravens making that pop on the quarterback and blasting his helmet off back into the end zone? Oh, man, finally get to see some of the big hits back in here in the NFL too. And,
well, that's because it was a legal hit. They
Yeah.
couldn't throw a penalty on that.
No,
he didn't lead with
That's
his
right.
helmet. He just drilled him between the numbers with his shoulder pad and lights out. Have a good one.
Funny thing, an update here. You want to talk about Eli and starting and Daniel Jones. I heard a couple of our friends here, Tom Gozlowski, Goz from ESPN Radio. He's going to be on our show next week. He went to the Giants camp, Jets, Bills,
Northeast.
and the
Yep.
Patriots, all their training camps.
Absolutely.
He's going to be with us next week, but he's got a little bet with the guys there at ESPN. He threw it out there to himself. It wasn't even a bet like I bet you and you bet me and boom, it's the thing.
Right.
He said, listen, if Daniel Jones is the starter week 1, I will personally come in here into the studio dressed as one of the Blue Men group. And he's laying the money out there.
Okay.
And not only that, he had his partner there, one of his guys that works with him, the closer, Brian Mariano, joins in on that. Chet Davis from News Center 6, CBS 6 from our local area region, he joins in on it. And I heard this, and I was like, yo, this is an easy bet. I said, listen, I'm
Right.
guaranteed so much that I will go in on this. I said, I will dress up as Blue Man Group if Daniel Jones happens to be the starter because
Right.
I don't see it happening
No.
whatsoever. And once you know it, Gaz called me out on it. So then I had to tweet it. I tagged him. So I'm in on this bet now too. So coming week 1 of the NFL regular season, if Daniel Jones by some way is miraculously the starter, named the starter week 1,
Right.
I have to go into 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio studios dressed in full garb as one of the Blue Man Group. I am not shaving my head, though. I'll find some kind of thing.
Oh, no, you're not
But-
going to shave your head? That
No.
would have been awesome.
No, but I will wear some kind of thing to make it look like I'm bald.
Okay.
But I'm not even going to go shopping for that because it's not going to happen. So that's how sure I am about this. But that's an exciting thing to look forward to in the future. Maybe Joe on that. So that's how much I'm in on that. So who was the Giants end that had the pick 6? That was what was it? Cochran, something like that. It was, oh man, what was his name? He had the long hair. He had to bat. He batted the ball
Was
and
it-
then picked it off the same time.
Was it? Oh, thanks, Tom. Tom just checking in, one of our know-it-alls. He's
Tom
a great
Leiter's
show, guys.
in. Oh, excellent, definitely from.
Welcome, Tom.
Yeah, from.
Give him a warm welcome.
I got to. I don't know why it's not working, but there it goes. Oh, that's why. There you go.
That's why.
Yeah, that's why. There you go. Tom Leiter from NFL News and Updates. I clicked the word and then it wanted to highlight the whole word for someone instead of play it. You know, I mean, that's the way that's computers
Welcome,
are. You know
Tom.
what I mean? So, Tom Leiter
Yeah.
checking out the show from NFL News and Updates group. Over 50,000 members of this group. An amazing group, very supportive. Tom's a great guy, and that's a great group to be part of. So even Swervo Gaming, dude. Check out, if you're on Facebook, check out NFL updates and news and updates. It's a great group of people that get to just talk about football. There's memes, all kinds of stuff, information, and one of our friends. All right, I got to look it up here. I'm trying to pull it up here.
He was a safety, I think.
No, he was one of
converted
the
to
ends.
end.
Was it?
That's what he was just.
yeah,
Swervo
yeah, yeah.
Gaming just said.
Oh, man. I don't even see him on the depth chart here. Oh, man, it started with a C. I can't see it.
You said he was a safety converted to end?
Was it? Oh,
That's
man.
what he was saying.
Yeah,
Swervo
was that
Gaming
Swer-
said he was
yeah.
a safety, I
Safety
think,
converted to end.
converted to end.
Man, oh, man.
Because even if you look on the depth chart,
Yeah.
I mean, if
It's
you're looking
none
at
of these
undrafted
guys.
free agent from this year, there's a guy, Freedom.
No problem, Tom. No problem.
Freedom Akinmola Dunn.
I don't know. I forget his name, but it was a big play. Who knows? Maybe he can make the team. I mean, that would be really exciting for some of these guys that are just trying to.
Or maybe it's
Make the teams.
Josiah Tosifa.
No, it's not. No,
No?
it was a white dude with long hair. I can't remember the name of his
I've
name,
seen
though.
white guys by the name of Josiah.
Yeah, that's true. But I know his name. Like if you say the name, it's like that. If you say the name, I know it. But just coming up with a name on top of my head right now, I don't know it. But anyways, is there any other plays? I mean, Devin Bush looked good for the Steelers too. I mean, he looked good playing for them.
Yeah,
There was a lot of interesting
sure.
games that are out this week that we got to take a look at.
Right.
And even the Jets. You'll talk about the Jets game. Sam Darnold looked really nice too. You know, playing.
Yeah,
with,
everybody
the
looks
Jets
great in
that same
preseason,
game.
you're
So,
right.
I mean, it looked good, and I love the uniforms too, man. That emerald green is shocking.
Yeah, I'll tell
I
you
love
right
that.
now. That people put a poll out there on Twitter and said, "Oh, vote for your favorite new Jet jersey." And they had, the black with the green. They had the white with the green. They had the emerald green.
Emerald.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. The green all day long.
Yeah.
It looks just so much better. I don't know how you could pick any other way.
Yeah.
What we got Swervo saying?
Okay, but with all seriousness, biggest name for me coming out is the guy coming out of the Browns camp who just showed up. Didn't have that was Giuseppe. Sheehy Giuseppe. Yes. Damon Sheehy Giuseppe is his name. Yeah, what a name, man. And that reminds us of our buddy Jeremiah Spicer, too. And he actually shared his story early on when he first went into the Browns camp.
Right.
And he knew this guy. And the same type of story, man. This guy wanted it. And Jeremiah Spicer talks about it a lot, about there's guys that say, oh, man, I was D3 or I should have been this, but I'm not in this. There's guys that want it, that do whatever it takes to get on there. They didn't have the luxuries that some of these guys do. They didn't go to the big name college here and there. This guy just worked out again and parked out, slept outside of the stadium here. he came in. He lied his way into the camp. Told them that he knew a guy from on the thing. And when they went and talked to this guy, they're like, hey, you know this guy? He's here. Yeah, he Giuseppe. He's in here. He said, you know, he knew you and stuff. The guy's like, I don't know, dude. What are you talking about?
Right.
So he walked his way in there, just talked his way in, and makes a play there in the preseason.
Got to try out.
You know, yeah. And like you said, everybody looks good in preseason. You know, that was it's tougher for returners.
Yeah.
But if he can do it again and keep it up, I mean, he's got that's a great story altogether.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. Not only is it a great story, but all you need is one shot.
Yeah.
It's really all it is. You need one shot, and what you do with that, you have to impress whoever or even get an interest from somebody just to get your foot in the door and make it happen. You got to make it happen for yourself. You got to be driven. You got to work hard. And this is to commend guys like Sheehy, to commend guys like Jeremiah Spicer, who never gave up on their dream. And if you really love what you're doing, or if you really want to do something else, go ahead and do it. Give it your all. Because even if you're never going to know, you know, if you never try, you'll never know if you could have ever made it. So I commend guys like that are driven, and just like, you know, me and Jim, like one day we decided to do a show. You know, like, what do you think? Yeah, sure, let's do it. And this is what we enjoy. We love talking about football. We love talking with you guys out there, all our know-it-alls, and let's keep this thing going.
He said because you said that, is Ronald Ollie on the Raiders from Last Chance U? Do you know? I don't follow the Raiders as much as
Ronald Ollie's cut.
He got cut. So there you go.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like Ronald Ollie was another nice story because he was on the show, and you know, he was given an opportunity. But the problem with Ronald Ollie is listen, when you make it to that level, when you get a chance at the NFL level, you better be all in and you better be hardworking. And the problem with Ollie was that he was lazy. We saw glimpses of that in Last Chance U with him. Even though he was a fan favorite, he's a great guy to hang out with. I mean, great personality, very friendly, very loving, and everything. But great dude. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, when it comes down to hard work, he's failed at that. So he didn't work hard enough, and now he's cut and he's out there on free agent. You know, in free agency now.
Yeah, and that's the thing with that show, because I remember watching it, and it's pretty amazing because they be on the guys and they're telling you that's Last Chance U for a reason.
Right.
This is
That's
like
why
your
it's
only
called.
chance that you're gonna come in, and they would not show up to tests without, you know, with the pencils and everything else. And you're like, really, dude? Come on, you're not even trying.
Right.
And that's why you're here.
Right.
And like you said, if you're not trying hard enough when you get to that level, then you're not gonna make it, man.
No,
you know,
you gotta
so
give
we
it
can't
all.
be following you. And he said, I know John Franklin was on the Bears last year for a little, and talking about on the Bears for a little, who got tried out was Malachi Jones from the
from
Albany
our area.
Empire. Yep, he was up here playing with the Empire. Tried out for the Bears, didn't make the team. Went to the AAFL and that folded. And then he went back now with the Albany Empire. Now they're champions. They just won the championship this past Sunday.
And it was almost like a walk in the park for them.
Oh,
they destroyed the team,
every team
40-20.
Yeah,
in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You know, you would think that the Super Bowl has got the two best teams, and if that's the case, Albany Empire stands that much higher above everybody.
Yeah,
so they better get
the
some more
Philadelphia
teams.
Souls, 3-time champion in that league.
Yeah, well, they just met their match. That's all I have to say.
So I mean, that's
Go
exciting
Empire.
here. Yeah, Albany Empire doing it here, and everybody's excited around our area too about that. And Arena Footballs, they're going to get some more teams, and that's even going to get bigger. So that's nice to see too, because it only spreads the pool with all these players to potentially make it to the NFL, or you've got the XFL, like Jeremiah Spicer said. Again, he's in the XFL draft,
And that's
but he's
the thing,
also on the
too.
call
Even-
list for the
right.
Chargers. So
Even
a lot
with-
of different options.
Exactly. With Jeremiah Spicer, that's kind of how he got noticed is through his
His
hard work and
AFL
determination, got into the AAFL and Arena. He played in the Arena League and was noticed heavily throughout the Arena League. So it just
the
gives him
league-leading
another
tackler.
You know, it's another league that he was able to get into, and it led to other opportunities now. Now he's got the XFL. He's got possibly the NFL route. So we really wish him luck and hope that he makes it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so yeah, keep your questions coming out there. Swervo Gaming, it's always a pleasure having you in here. I got to get used to saying that. It's almost like when I had to get used to saying the Los Angeles Chargers. You know, so I have to get used to saying Swervo Gaming here now. Pleasure, Tom Leiter too. That's awesome. If you're still watching too, pleasure having you in
thanks,
here.
Tom.
No problem for the plug. We're here for you, Joe. Let's go to the drop and hit us up with some headlines here.
This is The Drop.
Texans send conditional 2020 fourth-round pick that can turn into a third-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for none other than running back Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson finally gets his wish. He's been hoping that he could get out of there and be traded, and there you go. Texans got him. And that's funny because the Texans just cut Deontay Foreman.
Yeah.
They were done with him. They said that he was lazy, he didn't work hard enough. Now you're getting a guy who clearly doesn't have that issue. He's definitely going to put the work in. And he's going to be an interesting piece, though, because he's been seen for many years with Cleveland as a pass-catching back, pretty much, and that's it. I'm interested to see how they utilize him with Lamar Miller now coming into this offense.
Yep.
Dolphins announced that they have come to terms and signed former first-round draft pick defensive end Robert Nkemdiche. Nkemdiche was just recently cut by the Arizona Cardinals for pretty much the same reasons. Guy who didn't work hard, he came in overweight, and now the Dolphins, that's their problem. As first reported by Yahoo Sports, Therese Paylor, the Chiefs have agreed to terms with veteran cornerback Maurice Claiborne. We saw that, the Chiefs, they're going through a little bit of injuries at that position. They had to go ahead and they picked up Maurice Claiborne, which I think is interesting because he's suspended in the beginning of the year for the first 4 games. So even though they add him as depth, he still won't be able to play till week 5.
Yeah.
So you still need to find someone else. The New Orleans Saints are set to file a legal brief in support of the NFL as part of a lawsuit against the league by fans in response to the pass interference no call in the 2018 NFC Championship game against none other than the LA Rams. So the Saints are even getting in on the legal action and trying to see if they can get this, But here's the thing: even if this comes to a close and the judge and jury side with the Saints and company, that the call should have went the other way. Does it really do anything for the team? No. I mean, it's just. I guess it's just a way to say, hey, look, we were right, you were wrong. And
so there, and then the only good part of it is that the money goes to charity or whatever.
But it's not even that much.
Still, yeah.
I mean, they're only suing for like $75,000.
Yeah.
And then
any charity will take $75,000.
Yeah, obviously, but I mean, I think they could have hit them in the pocket a little bit more and then gave that money to charity.
If they wanted to fight it and make it something they're worth something, they should have done it like the week of, like suspended the playoffs until they figured it out or something.
It's the type of situation that if you have an issue with, it needs to be dealt by the league that time, like the very next day, because in all actuality, or even right there and then, this is why they created that new rule this year that they're trying out, that you're able to challenge those type of calls. You're able to challenge the pass interference call. So thank God for that, but it's a little too late. So I just hope they get it right in the end.
Shout out to Mike Tackett, who's saying happy hump day to everybody in here. Right. And yes, I made bail and I made it back in one piece, but you don't even know the story we've gone through and everything. I have a brand new microphone and all that, but
49ers GM John Lynch went on KNBR 680 in San Francisco and said, number 2 overall pick, rookie defensive end, Nick Bosa, will miss the entire preseason with a significant ankle sprain. What? Yeah, this is the kind of thing that we were concerned about coming out of the draft, that in college he was heavily injured. He was the number 1 overall pick in, for the 49ers. And are you really going to get the same? Are you going to get that value there? There's no question he's a gifted player and a tenacious pass rusher, a great defensive end, but can he stay on the field? We've seen this by Jadeveon Clowney, another guy who gets injured often, who was picked first overall, but is he worth the money? No. And he's even having his own financial issues coming up. San Francisco's 49ers running back Jerick McKinnon will miss at least the next 2 weeks after receiving a platelet-rich plasma injection in his knee. Head coach Kyle Shanahan told reporters this week. This is funny because he just officially got off the PUP list.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be gone for the next couple of weeks. Man, maybe this is why they brought in extra running backs. That's why they had so many
running backs, yeah. Tevin Campbell, step up.
Dallas Cowboys defensive end Robert Quinn, who's set to undergo surgery for a fractured left hand suffered in practice this week, received a 2-game suspension Thursday for a violation of the NFL's policy on performance-enhancing drugs.
Winners don't use drugs.
This is the funny thing is that Robert Quinn's never tested positive for anything until right now, which makes me believe that Quinn is on the decline.
Yeah.
And Dallas Cowboys probably lost in this trade with the Dolphins. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said cornerback Jason Verrett also has a significant ankle injury. Verrett is out for the preseason with the hope he possibly could return for week 1. So here you go. You got the 49ers already starting to get banged up.
There it goes.
And we don't even know if they're going to have a full, all their starters back before week 1 happens. Lions wide receiver Jermaine Kearse was sadly carted off after suffering a broken leg. And this is a real big downer for not just the Detroit Lions, but also Jermaine Kearse's career. Apparently it's very, very it's a brutal injury, very brutal, and it could be possibly career threatening, but we'll have to wait and see how everything all shapes out. I really feel for the guy. I mean, he was trying to make another squad with Detroit. Detroit is in need of a wide receiver.
Absolutely. It would have been a nice fit.
And unfortunately, that's not how it's going to happen there. The Philadelphia Eagles head coach Doug Peterson told reporters that backup quarterback Nate Sudfeld suffered a broken left wrist. I know what that's like. Against the Tennessee Titans. Nate may be out till week 8. So basically half the year gone by without their official backup quarterback.
Yep.
Oakland Raiders offensive guard Gabe Jackson is expected to miss approximately 8 weeks as well after suffering a left MCL injury during a joint practice with the LA Rams, according to Vic Tafur of The Athletic. So guys are just dropping like flies, and it doesn't even matter if it's drills, practices, scrimmages. It's the unfortunate side of the NFL.
This is why we say do not draft your fantasy teams until the last week, right until the season starts.
That's true.
Listen to reason.
We'll get to that. Buccaneers D-tackle Vita V suffered an LCL sprain. While Villa doesn't need surgery, he's expected to miss time in the regular season. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that the belief is that he can return at some point in the first 4 weeks of the regular season. So they're not even going to necessarily have him for the beginning of the season. It's not severe, but still, you're missing another starter on that defense, and that's critical. Cleveland Browns wide receiver Antonio Callaway... I'm sorry.
Just round them up.
Callaway.
Yeah.
And this is the thing is before we even got into the offseason, like if this kid could just stay on the straight and narrow and not do anything stupid, and he could be a difference maker. But unfortunately, he's going to miss the first 4 games of the regular season due to a violation of the league's substance abuse policy. An NFL spokesperson announced, come on, bro. Come on. You're flushing your career down the drain. I mean, listen, if anything, you're in the Cleveland Browns house, you should learn from an ex-Cleveland Brown by the name of Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
He couldn't put down the marijuana. And unfortunately, now he doesn't have a career because of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Wise up.
Yeah.
Cardinals starting defensive end Darius Phelan was arrested and taken into custody at a Maricopa County jail on suspicion of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon following an incident outside a Phoenix strip club in May, according to a report by TMZ. What is wrong with these guys? And not only that, little backstory on this whole thing is that Darius Phelan, he had 2 women from the strip club escort him back to his car, right? And he goes and reaches in the car and pulls out a gun, points it at one of them in the chest and says, "Who wants a bullet?" Are you serious, man? You think you can get away with this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Wow.
Oh, what a loser.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills have placed E.J. Gaines on the IR with a groin injury, Field Yates of ESPN reports. In a corresponding move, the Buffalo Bills have also signed veteran cornerback Captain Munnerlyn, some of you may know. who played for the Bills head coach Sean McDermott when the two were with the Carolina Panthers. NFL Network's Mike Garafolo reports. The New Orleans Saints released veteran wide receiver Rashard Matthews, a guy that's had a decent career. He's had a long career, a decent career, and now he's no longer on the team.
Execute Order 66.
Not to mention that right after he was cut, he decided, you know what, I'm just going to hang the cleats up, and he retired. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver coach Daryl Drake dies at the age of only 62 now. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's crazy. You know, when you lose somebody, it's devastating. And our condolences go out to the Pittsburgh Steelers, his family and friends as well. Drake joined the Steelers last season after spending the previous 5 years with the Arizona Cardinals as their wide receivers coach. He held the same position with the Chicago Bears from 2004 to 2012 after a long collegiate coaching career that included stops at Western Kentucky, Baylor, Georgia, and Texas. Drake began his coaching career after his playing career ended in 1983. He played wide receiver at Western Kentucky from 1975 to 78 before a brief professional run that included time spent with the Washington Redskins and the Cincinnati Bengals. Denver Broncos running back Theo Riddick, that's right, I said the Broncos running back, he's no longer a Lion, fractured his shoulder during Thursday's 22-14 preseason loss against the Seattle Seahawks, according to Mike Gliss of 9 News. Riddick won't require surgery and will be out of action for 6 to 8 weeks. So that's going to really hurt his chances to make the team. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think.
The Cleveland Browns announced the signing of former tight end Rico Gathers and waived tight end / fullback Orson Charles on Sunday, for that matter. Arizona Cardinals Executive Vice President and COO Ron Miniger was arrested on suspicion of DUI, according to a police report. So it's not only the players that get into trouble, it's also some people in front office. And I don't know what it is with the Arizona Cardinals organization, but it just seems like it's an ongoing saga there.
Yeah, I don't get it.
49ers signed former Miami Dolphins offensive tackle Sam Young to add depth to that team. And I think they're going to need more depth at the defensive backs, but we'll get to that later. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott reportedly turned down a head-turning. Turned my head for a second. $30 million per year contract offer as the 2019 season gets closer, according to Michael Lombardi of The Athletic. $30 million and he turns that down? Are you serious? I wouldn't even offer Dak Prescott $30 million. Insane. Wow. Come on.
Yeah.
According to Greg Allman of TheAthletic.com, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed veteran safety Darian Stewart. I think this is a great signing. This is a guy that's a veteran safety. He's been around the league. He knows what he's doing. He can hit. He can cover. He can do a lot of things. So watch out for Todd Bowles already starting to assemble a pretty good defense there in Tampa. The New England Patriots waived 2018 7th-round draft pick Danny Etling, according to ESPN's Field Yates, a guy that they tried to convert from quarterback to receiver as of late. Things just didn't work out. Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson and Ciara announced Tuesday that they have joined the Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
You know, and Seattle Sounders in the ownership group. So now they own part of the Seattle Sounders.
So what?
Isn't that fantastic, guys?
All right.
The NFL is forming, quote, unquote, an entertainment and social justice partnership with Jay-Z and Rock Nation,
This is big.
according to Mark Mask of the Washington Post. It's interesting because Jay-Z, correct me if I'm wrong, was in full support of Colin Kaepernick with that whole saga going on, and basically voiced his own opinion about how terrible the NFL is, how bad he doesn't want to work with them.
No, didn't want to do Super Bowl halftime shows.
But
But
it's interesting now that now it's okay because they're going to pay me.
Yes, yeah,
it's cool.
Put
They're
his
gonna hire
acts
us.
on there. I just hope he's got some good ones on the roster. I just hope they put good ones and not like Lil Uzi Vert or somebody that sucks.
Oh no, you're getting rap all day long. I mean, come on.
I
It's
don't mind
Jay-Z.
some rap. I want good rap though.
It's Jay-Z and Rock Nation.
Yeah, but he has some other good like rock acts on there still.
He also refused to do the halftime show for the Super Bowl. So, and
Good. I don't want to hear that right now. Good.
just saying, it's not looking good for entertainment in the future.
All right. So what else we got here?
Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper dealing with plantar fascia foot injury.
Saquon.
So this is a guy that wants, big money, wants to be paid the top-notch wide receiver, and you're injured, man. How do you expect that to happen? Miami Dolphins running back Kenyon Drake was seen at practice in a walking boot.
Yeah.
After practice, head coach Brian Flores told reporters Drake will be out for quote-unquote a while.
Wow.
With the injury, but he is hopeful he'll be ready for the start of the regular season. And there you have it, everybody. A long drop. I know we fell far, but
Yeah.
in all, we learned something through the way.
Yeah, I mean, and that stinks because now you want to talk about Kenyon Drake real quick. Swervo Gaming had him on his team, so I'm wondering if he ended up, because he went to make that trade. Did he make that trade for who was he looking for? Was it he to pick up off a free agent wire? He grabbed, frick, I can't remember who the hell it was again.
I don't know.
You remember
Wait,
what?
just ask him.
Yeah, well, who did you grab again? What was the trade? Because you had Melvin Gordon for Zeke. Yep, and then he could pick up whatchamacallit off the waiver. And Adrian Peterson was still on waiver wire, so you want him to drop a running back. That's what it was. I had to think about it. Man, last week was so long ago. He says Saquon Barkley is on Colin Kaepernick's side. Interesting. I like to hear what part, though, that the fact that he should maybe have a job or the fact that, there's social injustices
Let me
happening
just put
and
this
stuff
thing
like that,
to rest right
I
now.
can see that part.
Let me just put this thing to
But as far
rest.
as needing a job, I don't
Colin
I don't
Kaepernick
agree
will
with
never
that.
get a job because
No.
he's quit football,
Yeah.
and he sued the NFL.
Yeah.
When you sue the NFL, and he settled, so he's taking money out of the pockets of the owners throughout the NFL on this.
Right.
Because they got to pay Colin Kaepernick. So because of that, he'll never have a job. Listen, the whole fiasco with all that charade that went on when Colin Kaepernick was involved in the league and whatnot and was trying to come back, he stopped working out. He was more focused on other things and other avenues of his entrepreneurship. So get the whole Colin Kaepernick coming back thing out of your head because it's never going to happen. He doesn't work out to be a quarterback. He's not going to come back because, all in all, you took a shot at the NFL big time and hurt them, and you hurt them where it hurts the most. Is taking money. So.
Yeah, definitely. Bring up Mike Tackett. Well, we'll bring him after this one. We'll go to Swervo Gaming here. He says, so Dak is holding out for $40 million, and Zeke's still holding out for all the rest of the money the Cowboys have.
Yeah.
LOL. Just kidding, but big contract. Yeah, like we just said in the drop, turned down the $30 million one, and he has openly talked about this. He has openly said, like, oh, I think I deserve to get paid up here. I deserve the $40 million.
Right.
And then also, Zeke feels he should be the highest paid, and Amari should be the highest. Like, do you know how much? Do you think money grows on trees? Where do you think this money's coming from, dude?
It's not even that. It's also you have the cap to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, what are you looking at, bro?
You just don't have enough to fit under the cap and get all these guys signed.
Oh, he kept Gordon and picked up Peterson.
You also got to remember too is, when the cap comes, here's the thing: is the Cowboys they're in trouble. I don't care what Stephen Jones says. I don't care what Jerry Jones says. We're going to sign everybody back. The future is real right now. When you look at future contracts they're going to have to sign, like say even if they get out of this year, they get Zeke back. To be honest, I would not re-sign Zeke for another deal yet. He's got 2 more years on his deal plus a 5th-year team option to come back. So that's 3 years essentially. They're not going to let him go in his 5th year. So Zeke, get your butt back into training camp, get back to work, and start grinding for the regular season. Right now he's in Cabo. Really not sure what he's doing in there, but
Driving golf carts.
Yeah, but
no golf course at all there. It's all dirt roads.
But all in all, I mean, try to get this thing handled with Dak. I just don't know why you're trying to give him so much money. He's not
but
that good of a
he's
quarterback.
not even taking it. That's the whole thing that blows my mind with this.
He wants 40.
So I'd say, you know what? At this point, I'm like, yeah, all right. If he's not gonna sell, so he's gonna come back, all right, and then he's gonna be. The thing is with his contract, he's on the last year of his,
right?
So you got to figure it out during the season. I don't know. I'm almost willing to say, screw you, because if you want to talk to me, the way we gave you a shot, we drafted you the 4th round. And now you won your job, yeah, sure,
Right.
from Tony Romo, but Tony Romo only because
Wow, injury.
he had so many injuries. He is
Yeah.
light years above
got
you
injured, and that's
in
what paved
knowledge,
the way.
and his body just couldn't take it anymore. Basically, that's it. All right? You know, he is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. And if you want to freaking argue with me about that, I'll bring out stats, I'll bring out everything.
But here's the thing, too, is like going back to the money issue. Even if you pull off a deal with Zeke and Dak and Amari Cooper, because those are the three
Yeah.
core ones right now that they're worried about.
Yeah.
You still have Jalen Smith coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You still have Byron Jones coming up. You still have Chinonso Awuzie coming up. You still have, that's how you say
Yeah,
it.
that's right,
And then you still
Awuzie.
have Anthony Brown. You got a lot of guys, offense and defensively, that are all coming up that they're gonna want big money.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to afford them all.
Yeah.
So
And it's gonna be
if-
tough.
If they plan on giving Dak Prescott 35, whatever the case may be, I think it's just you're overpaying for a quarterback that's not that great, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's a loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a NFL that where people are trying to say, you know, it's a copycat league, you have to do this to do this. And we heard Colin Cowherd talking earlier. We watched a little bit of his video. I'll bring up just a little bit. What he said is he thinks Andy Reid and Bill Belichick are two of the best coaches in the NFL. And the way those two franchises have run their franchises lately have been pretty decent. And well, not even lately for Belichick, the way they've led by
He's done
example.
it for years, yeah.
But for the reason that blows my mind that people don't try and follow the Patriots and trying to handle this, you can find value in other guys that aren't going to be, oh, I absolutely demand this, I demand that, and demand that. You can still win championships and make it work and just find the right people that fit your system and fit the face of your franchise and what you want to represent, and people who want to win just solely to win. You've got Jeremiah Spicer and other guys out there, Sheehy Giuseppe sitting outside of stadiums just to get a chance to play.
Sleeping
And you've got
outside.
Dak Prescott says 30 million is not enough. I need 40. Yeah, are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me
Look
right
at-
now?
yeah.
And then you're ready to just set the franchise back, and you know what? He don't care.
No.
I got money, and then I'll be gone after that. I don't
Right.
give two craps. Whatever. And you can't. Do you want that guy on your team? I don't think so. I know I don't want that type of guy on my team. So, I mean, that's settled there for that. Speaking about Romo, he might get added to Madden as an announcer. Yeah, nice. Imagine that, right?
That would be great.
That would be sweet. That would be pretty amazing. Hey, by the way, we have been in Madden back-to-back seasons, Joe. Back-to-back years.
That's right.
We are noted in Madden for saying it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. So there you go. So don't forget that. We are in Madden 19 and 20. So check it out. All right.
You actually, just keep your eyes or your ears open because you'll hear it.
Yeah.
it's said
It's
quite
in there.
often. It's interesting.
Definitely. All right, so Mike Tackett, he joined in earlier.
All right, what do we
he's
got
always a
from
good
Mike?
fan of the show, and I wanted to bring this up. It was a little later here because it's something we could talk about a little bit here. On a serious
Yeah.
note, he says with so many injuries and early in the preseason, I can't help but go back to the current CBA and how it minimizes the time spent on the practice field. I think that the players' bodies simply aren't ready to compete at such a high level so early in the preseason. Hopefully, with the next CBA, it allows players to get more practice time so they can condition their bodies accordingly in preseason. And Joe and I talked about this last night in our prep and everything, and we semi-agree on some of this too as well, but then with just a little bit of debate or little differences here, because when they want to get rid of some of the games of the preseason, how are you going to sort it out then? I like the scrimmages that they're doing with the other teams and things like that. But Joe had argued the fact that, well, they still need the game time and in the arena or the in the stadium and having the fans, the loudness and this, because that's you can't mimic anything like that right there.
And
real
nothing
time.
nothing even comes close to being real when you're on the field and
Right.
you have to figure out your assignments and adjust and execute the plays that are called. So you just can't duplicate that. So you have to have preseason games. I'm not saying you have to have 4. I think you could get
Right.
away with taking at least 1 away, but still have the same time span of time.
Right,
So,
like 3 weeks, bye week, and then the start of the season.
so you still have 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Through training camp. You still have training camp for 4 weeks, but you only have 3 games. And in that way, in that sense, I think the coaches in the front office will still be able to evaluate the talent that's trying to make the roster and still see enough and have enough game film for those 3 preseason games.
Yeah, and then the other thing about taking the hits, I said this last year, I think maybe in the year before, who knows.
Oh, you don't
Gruden
do
had
enough.
said it. Yeah, we've doing it enough. And again, about the hits, they should be doing padded practices, but that was the agreement in the CBA that he brought up. And now players, now it's not everybody, but a lot of injuries happening, and now you're seeing some of that. You're dealing with it. You're not being able to get those.
Right.
Will they now readjust it if you drop some preseason games and you do some of those scrimmages here? Are they more pads? Are they more hits? Are they more aggressive still rules to some of those so they still get a little more high impact, but again, not televised on television, doing all that. And like you said, they still just need that last week or so, and they can evaluate the players that they want to keep and cut without doing that last game. So
Right, and you know what, too? Here's the other thing. It just came to mind, is if they do get rid of that 4th preseason game, it almost gives the front office and the coaches out there more time in a sense, because now they don't have to worry about next week's game, like the last preseason game, because usually week to week they're game planning in a sense for the upcoming opponent for the next preseason game. You get rid of that 4th preseason game, they don't have to game plan. Now they can focus more on, well, who do we like for our roster? There's more time to do that and stay more engaged on who do we like, who do we don't like, versus now we have to game plan for this last team, and then kind of during crunch time, you only have right after that you have to start making cuts before the deadline. It's only a few days after the last preseason game, so it puts a lot more stress on them to make those tough calls. And who knows? Maybe guys have made mistakes on cutting a player when they didn't really want to, and they regret it later on. So,
well, we've seen that and things like that with other teams, definitely along the way. Which brings me up to let's go right to our fact of the day, then, Joe. Let's hit it up. It is our in the know fact of the day. This is a little interesting tidbit here, Joe. I think it's kind of funny seeing you're talking about along the lines of maybe cutting somebody and things. Deemed a bust by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Steve Young was traded to the 49ers for a 2nd and 4th round picks. Here we go. Little did they know that he would go on to replace Joe Montana and earn league MVP honors in 1992 and 1994. Earn MVP honors in Super Bowl 29 and retire with the highest passer rating among quarterbacks with at least 1,500 passing yards or passing attempts. So how about that? Steve Young ends up getting traded because they don't think he's going to be anything here. And he played in the Canadian League for a little bit of time. So, I mean, they were only going to get a little bit of value anyways. But they get a 2nd and a 4th, thinking he's just not going to be able to replace who did they have it? I can't remember. Was it Vinny Testaverde at one time?
Yes.
Yeah, and there you go. Goes on to be a Hall of Famer now.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame quarterback, lefty.
and he's not the only one.
Yeah.
You think about Brett Favre. You know, he was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons.
Atlanta Falcons.
And he was a backup at the time, and they didn't like how aggressive he was, like trying to force the ball into tight pockets and everything. And they were like, you know what, this is not going to work out. He ends up moving on, going to Green Bay, and the next thing you know, he's also a Hall of Famer. So it happens, and I know. I mean, you got to know, how bad do you think those teams feel after all is said and done? They're like, man, you know, we had him right here. We had our franchise quarterback, our franchise, our future wide receiver, whoever it may be. We just had him here. You know, you look at Wes Welker. There's another example. A guy, he was on the Miami Dolphins roster, and they didn't even know what they had at the time. You know, Wes Welker was
and then goes to the Patriots.
He could have turned out to the next greatest wide receiver in Miami Dolphins history, but now we'll never know because they ended up shipping him up to New England, and he made history up there.
Yeah, so it's interesting that kind of stuff happens, and
Absolutely.
that's what you're seeing in the preseason in the NFL. That's the way it goes. All right, so last week we started up our recaps or our predictions and reviews that we do for the past 3 years since we've been going. And so now last week we did was the NFC and the AFC South. This week we are going to do the AFC and NFC North. So this will be an interesting take to look at. Some of these teams have changed pretty drastically.
Right.
Let's start off with the Baltimore Ravens here. They unloaded some older players, but they also, they get they signed a guy from Earl Thomas, so they get rid of Eric Will, but they get Earl Thomas back now.
It's a nice trade off.
Yeah, so this will be his second year for Lamar Jackson here. They were one of the highest rushing offenses in the NFL. And they were making it work here. They really detailed plays and an offense to work around his talents and stuff. But now, like you've said before, when we've talked about this guy in this particular team, teams now have a year's worth of film or at least a half a year's film to see this guy and what he's done. And
Right.
maybe they can game plan to it now and maybe shut him down. So they need to come up with something out of their pocket here to make this team work, especially after losing some of the wide receivers.
Yeah, and we already
You
have
know.
seen a little bit of that. We look at the Chargers when they faced the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs, and what did the Chargers do that no team even thought of? I'm sorry, but I think the Chargers defensive staff and Anthony Lynn, because he's a defensive minded coach, I think they brewed up with this game plan and put not just one or two or extra. They put the safeties in the linebacking core spots. That was interesting. And because of their athletic ability and speed, they were able to cut off Lamar Jackson and contain him better, which led to a lot of mistakes, which led to a lot of sacks, a lot of miscues on Lamar Jackson's part. Now that we have game film on that, maybe you get more athletic players to play in those spots to contain him when you do play the Baltimore Ravens, because it seemed to work for the Chargers. So now that teams all have that game film plus the game film throughout the whole season on them, you're gonna see, I think, teams play Lamar Jackson very differently now, and it might pay off for a lot of teams.
And the exciting player for offense for him to look at here is Hollywood Brown. See what kind of impact he can make
Marquise
on the offense here, because he needs a good wide receiver here. Because right now, if you're looking at it, you got Willie Snead as the starter and Seth Roberts on the other side, one of your favorite guys from the Oakland
he's
Raiders.
so great.
And then he played with the 49ers for a short stint. And Michael Floyd back on the depth chart too. So I mean, he doesn't have like a lot of super weapons. So he really needs somebody to step up, one of these young guys to connect with. And the key for them is the running game. And who did they go and get? They got Mark Ingram now to be the sole runner here with them. And he's going to have a little help too with Gus
That's a good
Edwards. Gus
pickup.
Edwards did pretty good last year, filling in here and there with injuries. So Mark Ingram here to be a staple running back for this team, who again likes to run the ball and make the safe throws if they can, and rely on their defense. But that's the thing with this team, with their defense here, is they go and get the Pernell McPhee here to fit up the spot as the rusher now. I mean, that isn't like a spectacular move there. It's like a plug here. It's like a leaking sieve here. You just stick some gum in. But I don't know. I'm questionable about this defense so far.
Are you?
Okay.
Well, I got news for you. Be ready to be amazed,
We'll
because
see.
even though they lost some veteran leadership, they lost Suggs, they lost C.J. Mosley. Well, C.J. Mosley to me was the only big loss. I understand, but C.J. Mosley was the big loss for this team. That was pretty much the backbone of this team. But they decided they couldn't afford him. They didn't want to pay him the money, and that happens. Teams got to make those tough decisions. But now you look at this young group, this young core of linebackers, and I think they've groomed these guys well enough. I think they're going to be very, very unique pieces in this scheme. They fit perfectly. You look at a Patrick Onwuasor. And he's a devastating hitter. He's a very physical linebacker. A guy who can go sideline to sideline, much like these other guys, Chris Board, Kenny Young. We saw flashes of Kenny Young in the first preseason game. And it's interesting. We recently found out that Jeremiah Spicer, who we had on the show, that's his cousin, his blood cousin, nonetheless. So he's rooting him on. And you look at also guys like Matt Judon, who are going to get a shot now, being young and coming in here as a pass rusher. I think you're going to watch out for him. This front defensive line, very stout, hard to move out of the spots. And I think, listen, their secondary is going to come back. You got Marlon Humphrey, who was next to being a shutdown corner last year. Very young, still explosive. Jimmy Smith is now returning healthy. Tony Jefferson, again, with the same defense, back another year. Earl Thomas is a great plug for them to bring him in. If he stays healthy, I mean, watch out. This defense could be shut down. and very easily one of the better defenses still, even after those veteran losses. So I'm really high on the defense. Offensively, that's a little bit different for me. Lamar Jackson, I'm not really high on and never was coming out of college, and you can see a lot of his struggles throughout last season. Even though he was young coming in and was trying to make a name for himself, he thinks run first all the time, and we noticed that.
Yep.
You know, he tends to run a lot more than your typical quarterback, and that's why, all in all, the offensive scheme fits him, but at the same time works against him, because when they are required to throw the ball, that's where they start to get into problems, especially when they have to throw deep. Not very good, not very accurate throwing deep. It's going to limit this offense. And I think a lot of teams, hey, what's your game plan number one against this offense? Stop the run. Force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. Contain him, and he'll make his own bad decisions. So
Yep, and he put on a few more pounds here to try and absorb some of those hits too, in case he gets by, so he doesn't get injured. Running around the sidelines.
He definitely got
too as well.
add a little bit more muscle. And the biggest concern for me out of everything is, like you were just mentioning, is wide receivers. I mean, Willie Snead, I think, is a great slot receiver. If he's being placed outside, I kind of question that. Chris Moore is a decent receiver too. Marquise Brown, I'm really excited about. I can't wait to see this kid play. Very explosive, very fast. More like a poor man's Antonio Brown right now, because we really don't know how he's going to play in the NFL. And Seth Roberts, I mean, how could you not love Seth Roberts? I mean, the worst pass rate there is in the NFL. I mean, the guy commits penalties. Sounds like to me like a full-time starter.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, though. I was just worried about this offense getting stuttered, so then you have to rely on that defense, and I think they're just going to bend and eventually break.
The one thing
we'll see.
The one strength that they have on the offensive side is their offensive line looks pretty stout. That's going to really help out Lamar Jackson and the running game. But all in all, do they become one-dimensional now? Because now that they're already classified as a run-heavy offense, defenses can game plan about, let's just force them to throw the ball, especially when they get behind. Could they run into the same problems that Carolina runs into? Carolina Panthers offense is built the same way. They ground and pound, and they run their offense. They run play action with Cam Newton, run a little bit with Cam Newton, but whenever a team gets a little bit of a lead, they can't catch up. So I think that's going to,
Fun
go against
fact
them.
about the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, the only player to throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 50 yards rushing in one single game.
Congratulations. Did they win that game?
No, the next game, he got knocked out of the game and injured. So there you go, though. Well, take that. So, so moving on. In a division that's going to be kind of tough here. It's interesting to see where people are going to do a line.
Very tough division.
Talk about Baltimore here. Mike Tackett chimes in. After the Michael Crabtree deal in Arizona fell through, I could see Baltimore picking up Crabtree for some veteran presence at some point during the year. But does Crabtree want to do that? That's the thing, though.
Here's the thing.
He already has his lifetime crab cake, so why does he need to go there?
But here's the problem with Crabtree is that he overvalues himself. He's a 33-year-old wide receiver, and you're trying to get on a roster. You can't be picky about who is interested in you and what kind of money, what kind of compensation you're going to get. And that was the problem with Arizona. Arizona Cardinals and Michael Crabtree were close to getting a deal done until he said, well, what's your final number? Well, didn't you hear? That is our final number. We're going to pay you around $5 million for the 1-year deal. And he balked at it, and then that's how it just fell through. So if that's what you're going to do now as a 33-year-old receiver, good luck finding a team. I don't care, even if it is Baltimore. Baltimore, who knows? Maybe they already did reach out to him and so we'd like to have you back. But he just doesn't. He wants to get paid more. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Now moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, finally, Marvin Lewis is gone, Joe. We've been asking for it. Finally, he's gone.
Yes.
He has left the building.
Cincinnati comes to their senses.
Yeah, and they go and they follow the trend to go get the next Sean McVay to get Zach Taylor here.
I'm not buying that one.
They've talked before. That's why. Well, that's their plan. This guy knows this guy, so he should be like him, right? That's like, I know you, so we should be the same person, right?
That's right.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know, but
we are. You can't tell.
He's going here. All right, and one of the major things is AJ Green. What's he going to do? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Is John Ross III finally going to be the guy that I'm trying to think that he's going to be?
No.
I've been trying to tell his people that he could possibly be a sleeper, and just
listen, I was
doesn't get it down.
extremely. I mean, we were both high on this guy coming out of the draft. And to be completely honest with you, if he was 100% healthy and didn't have any injury issues, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. He would already be one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's extremely hard to stay with. He runs crisp routes. He can catch. He can do everything. And he's just, I mean, his top end speed is ridiculous. But the injury bug has always gotten him in college. It's still getting him in the NFL. I just think because of injuries, he's never going to fulfill that expectation that the Bengals have had for him as a first-round draft pick, and for fans, just everyday football fan like us ourselves. So I think that's the only thing that's going to hold him back right now.
Yeah, now his defense, who has been known for being, we're getting long in the tooth. They've done a great job at getting younger guys now in on the line too as well. Sam Hubbard, Andrew Billings, and on the secondary side. You had Jesse Bates III, Sean Williams, Dre Kirkpatrick, too, in here. And so I think the defense is still going to be able to hold tight here. But like you just said, if you can go through all the guys on this roster here, you can look at him. A.J. Green, he's got an injured. John Ross, Kyler Boyd, he's been injured. Good addition on the offensive line. Was it last year before, getting Cordy Glenn here, sharing this offensive line for him.
Right.
But again, Tyler Eifert, he's had injuries. Joe Mixon, he's had injuries. Split time with Giovanni Bernard. So Andy Dalton here, again, he's going to have a new system to work into. So if you've ever had questions about Andy Dalton, again, what are you going to see here? This, you got to see how he's going to handle a new system.
Right.
What's going to work? Is it going to work better for him? Are we going to see a new Andy Dalton? We're excited to see what Joe Mixon's going to do this year. Hopefully he can stay healthy, get a 1-2 punch here with Giovanni Bernard. So I am excited to see what can happen here. I'm interested because it is Zach Taylor, and see what happens here and what kind of team we get. Is it more fly routes here and there, back and forth, wide receiver screens? We'll see, but injuries are a key on offense.
And that's the interesting thing is everybody's trying to figure out what kind of offense is Zach Taylor going to run. Now, here's the thing is whenever you get a coach from another team, usually what they do is they bring over elements from the offense that they left.
Yeah.
So you might see a lot of jet sweeps because that's what the Rams
the
Rams run, a lot of jet sweeps in their offense. So some familiarity from the Rams you might see with the Cincinnati Bengals, and it might play out better for Andy Dalton. Maybe that type of offense fits him better and gets rid of the ball out of his hand a little bit quicker. It's like bang bang type of plays, very quick, very distinct, and that's going to be interesting to watch that alone to see what kind of offense they're really going to have. But, when you bring up questions like A.J. Green, can he stay? Listen, A.J. Green is one of the elite receivers in this league, and it plays a big factor with this offense with Andy Dalton. If A.J. Green is healthy, this offense could really take off.
Absolutely.
Even though it will be a new offense, everybody's learning it. There might be some miscues along the way, some mistakes. Same thing goes for Andy Dalton. So I know everybody's always down on Andy Dalton all the time and saying how terrible he is, can't win the big one. But, again, new offense. It's a lot to take in your first year, so let's see how they adapt to that. Offensive line, to me, is interesting because they also had a guy recently retire from that offensive line, so that already starts to concern me. Bobby Hart gets injured, who they liked last year. They had him on the roster, played well for them. But they also picked up Andre Smith back, and it looks like he will be slated in as the starting right tackle as of right now. I don't know about that. So that's a little concerning to me for that offensive line on the right side. But also, all in all, I mean, Tyler Eifert's still on the roster.
Yeah.
This guy gets injured every single year, and I don't know how he remains as a Bengal. I thought for sure he would have just went to free agency this year. But sure enough, they bring him back. Joe Mixon, a real workhorse in the backfield, guy that can do everything well. And then you go to the defense. You look at the defense. This is a defense where they've kind of slowly, like me and Jim mentioned last year, like they're getting older. When are they going to start to turn over and get to some more youth? And it looks like they're starting to take that approach. Geno Atkins, last year, they signed him to a deal, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Sam Hubbard is a nice defensive end for them. Guy that may not go, well known or anything, but good player. Andrew Billings. Carlos Dunlap, a guy that's still getting it done. I mean, he keeps getting older, but he's still a decent player. And the next interesting thing is guys like Sean Williams at safety. Jesse Bates III, who played well at free safety. William Jackson, I think, is a stud at corner. So they have some youth. They've managed to turn over a little bit. But all in all, this team is going to be interesting to watch just offensively. We know what the defense is all about. They're very physical. They're very aggressive. And they play in a predominant zone. But this offense will be interesting to see how they run the offense, how everybody comes together. And even if A.J. Green can't go, Tyler Boyd will be there. Tyler Boyd is probably their best receiver last year. When it was all said and done. So they're an interesting team to watch. And, again, another team that's going through a pretty much a new offense overhaul all the way.
Yeah, and Steve Wilkes goes back to doing what he does best, and the defensive
That's right.
coordinator. So
coordinator. So
when you're at a head coach, all right. So
it's a new D coordinator now.
Here, D coordinator here. I was thinking of the Cleveland Browns because we're moving on to Cleveland Browns here. So now we'll get to the Cleveland Browns, the exciting team that everybody thinks is now. Some people think playoffs, some people think Super Bowl, but they're super hyped about them. Like I said, Steve Wilkes comes in as defense coordinator here. Freddie Kitchens now, we called it, was going to be named the head coach of this team here. So here he is. It's finally his team. Everybody's hyped up. Baker Mayfield, a lot of stuff and news about him and how fiery he is. He's just to the point, tells you what's on his mind, doesn't care. The big trade to get Odell Beckham Jr. there happened, and then now he ties him up with his boy Jarvis Landry here together. And also, you've got Nick Chubb there. So Kareem Hunt, he'll get in the game eventually. So Duke Johnson saw the writing on the wall. He got upset. He wanted to get traded. He got moved. And
especially when Kareem Hunt comes to
town.
town.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like, oh, boy, here we go. So he does what I do. All right, and then on the defense, again, you got richer, too, with the different things that they picked up here. Myles Garrett comes back. They've got Olivier Vernon in the trade. So many other names here. Christian Kirksey played well from last year. Denzel Ward, where people are like, were you getting the value when they picked him? They knew what the guy they wanted. They grabbed him, and he shined. So you can only ask for just performing and what they picked you. You thought you were good. You're good. You're working. So a lot of people excited about the Cleveland Browns. Joe, what do you think about the Cleveland Browns and this whole thing and where they might look in this?
Oh, man, I tell you, I'm really excited about the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I'm not I'm about the hype train, but I'm trying to take it in as it's hard not to get excited if you're a Cleveland Brown fan or even a football fan rooting for the Browns because they've been terrible for so many years.
Yeah, that's why I think they're easy to like them.
Finally, last year have shown flashes of life. They finally have their franchise quarterback, with one of his favorite coaches of all, Freddie Kitchens. They get along great. They joke and everything. Freddie Kitchens, a great offensive mind. And they developed some great chemistry and created this offense that's very explosive. Now, what's interesting is they didn't just come back with the same guys. We're okay with who we got. We're fine. John Dorsey, the GM for the Cleveland Browns, I keep saying it, but oh my God, he's doing a phenomenal job. In 2 years as a GM for Cleveland, has completely overhauled this roster and is now making this team a legitimate contender. Not only for just getting better to being a winning team, but also I think they could push for the playoffs easy this year. When you pull off a trade and get Odell, when you already had Jarvis Landry in a trade from last season, it seems like you're starting to build a great receiving core. Rashard Higgins, he got hurt last year. A little bit of an underrated receiver there. He's also slotted as the third right now. And Antonio Callaway, we already heard the news. Guy's going to be suspended for 4 games. This is unfortunate for him because now there's a potential for him to lose that 4th spot now in this receiving core. They did bring in guys like Jalen Strong, who now this opens up an opportunity for him. And we'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out. But all in all, very strong receiving core. You look at their offensive line returning, very strong offensive line. I know a lot of people are going to joke about Greg Robinson, a journeyman who's bounced all over, but they like him at tackle. I think they've managed to figure out how to utilize a guy like Greg. And all in all, Baker Mayfield showed some promise last year. Still very young, still going to get better. You're going to see a big jump for Baker Mayfield, I think, coming into this second year of his with Freddie Kitchens, with all these weapons now at his disposal. David Njoku, tight end. Tough to defend, very athletic, very fast type of tight end. He's going to utilize him, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt. That's what's interesting. How are they going to divvy up the touches now when you hit a home run in the second round with Nick Chubb? I thought for sure he was going to be the feature back. Now you bring in Kareem Hunt. It's like, and it's very interesting how Kareem Hunt and the Browns have not taken backlash for adding him to the team, but he's there, and it looks like after his 8-game suspension, he'll be playing too. So that's going to be interesting to watch in the second half of the season. Defensively, a lot of people sleep on these guys. And last year, as good as they played, this year they got better. They did go ahead and they pull off a trade and they got rid of Jabril Peppers, the Giants with the Odell trade. They move on from Odell, but they have some veteran presence in the back end with Morgan Burnett and Demarius Randall, who they've picked up. And all in all, I think this defense is going to be really, really stout. You also look at, in that trade, they also got Olivier Vernon. I think a guy that plays defensive end, he fits the scheme better than he did in New York. He's going to come in opposite Myles Garrett. I think that's going to wreak some havoc in the backfield. So all in all, I think across the board, they also, not to mention real quick, I have to mention Greedy Williams.
Yeah.
A guy that slid in the draft that a lot of people were like, oh, well, he's too little, he's too slender, don't know if he can play well. Listen, Greedy Williams is a first-round talent. He can shut down a lot of receivers. And if he bulks up, which is what they're going to ask him to do, he could end up being another steal for this team to pair up opposite Denzel Ward. So I'd watch out for this team all in all. They got a solid offense, solid defense, a lot of hope, a lot of praise. Let's see what they can do this year.
Yeah, and with the hopes of everybody with Sheehy Giuseppe on there, too. If he makes the team, that'd be great, too. It's just all-around blue-collar team, I think, that everybody wants to see do well, whether it's the division or the playoffs or even further. So it's an intriguing game, a team. We'll see what happens going forward. And then finally, last but not least, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers here.
Yes, sir.
Who have had a lot of turmoil in the offseason,
a lot
too,
of changes.
with what's going on. Changes, yeah,
a lot
absolutely.
of changes.
With the not having Le'Veon Bell, no more Antonio Brown, so Juju Smith-Schuster now has got the sole spot. Madden really shows a lot of love for Juju over there. He's got explosive ratings and things like that. But Dante Moncrief here too is along with them, joins him on the other side. Yeah. Ryan Switzer too, another spot for this team. I'm intrigued to see how they use him a little bit, because last year they used him here and there, almost like Christian McCaffrey style, plugged him here on some returns here and there, then at wide receiver. I liked what they did. I'd like to see a little more, see what they can sprinkle in with him. James Washington too as well, a great wide receiver for this team. So I'm interested to see what happens going forward here with this offense and how the running backs can handle the load without Le'Veon. They did well last year, but again, James Conner, to try and do it on his own, you saw towards the end of the season started to get a little sluggish here and there and get a little banged up. Jalen Samuels came in on the spot to fill in. They also drafted Benny Snell Jr. here to help out with the running backs, and Trey Edmonds did actually some spots too when he was able to play last year. So it's interesting to see what they do with the running backs. If they go a little here with him, a little bit here with them, or how much playing time is James Conner going to get altogether? And on this defense, they did draft Devin Bush Jr. too, who looks really good in the preseason. We'll see what happens going forward. Joe Hayden's still there on that trade they got a year or so ago. TJ Watt, he was equaling the stats that his brother JJ was doing last year. So they were neck and neck, and then he's a younger version, and he looks pretty good. So hopefully he can come back, but they've got their standard guys here. Cameron Hayward, always there. Javon Hargraves, Stephen Tuitt, getting it done. Again, I think, and then also Terrell Edmonds here too. Second year back, looked really good last year too as well. It's interesting. We'll see if they can compete with these Cleveland Browns here, see what the Pittsburgh Steelers can do.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to be able to compete. And a lot of people are kind of just overlooking the Pittsburgh Steelers in a sense right now because, they lost Antonio Brown. They lost this. They've lost that. They traded one of their premier offensive linemen away. What's that going to mean? And there's always been that question about James Conner. Can he withstand the full-time back duties? And he got banged up last year, got a little injured as they got towards middle to end of the season, and it missed some time. So now that begs the question, like you just talked about, is can he last all year? Will they divvy up some carries? Will they mix in some different backs and everything? I think Connor is their featured guy. But after last year, maybe it's a little telling that, maybe he can't sustain the fullback duties all by himself. Maybe he is going to need some help to alleviate some of that wear and tear throughout the season. Big Ben is Big Ben. He's still one of the good quarterbacks in this league. He's still going to go out there and sling the rock. So offensive line, I think it'll take care of itself. I think they've done a good job with having guys that are in waiting to go ahead and possibly start from. You look at Matt Filer, who's going to take over that right tackle spot. I want to point out real quick is Dante Moncrief. He could be an interesting piece to this whole thing. He might end up being the more productive receiver than Juju. I know it sounds absolutely insane, but this is going to be the first year Juju Smith-Schuster is going to have to deal with double coverage. There's going to have to deal with the defenses shifting over to more his side and trying to worry about him. Moncrief might get more production because of that shift. And don't forget James Washington, too. A guy that kind of was a rookie last year, played very well down the stretch. They also have Ryan Switzer, who was more of a special teams guy. And Eli Rogers is coming back, even though he's still hurt as we speak. But they do have some nice pieces in that receiving core to utilize. I think they're going to be just fine. They're well coached, and they definitely have the foresight of how to use these guys. I mean, listen, this is like wide receiver is Pittsburgh. They just managed to find talent from anywhere. You look at Antonio Brown, was a very late round draft pick, like a 6th rounder, and made himself into something. So I don't really have a major worry about the offense. There's still some concern because it's going to be different. You don't have Le'Veon Bell anymore. That's different. You don't have Antonio Brown to take coverages away from Juju. It's going to be interesting to see how defenses play this offense. But all in all, I think they're going to still be a tough out and a tough offense to compete against. And then you look at their defense real quick. Jimmy just brought up Devin Bush, the rookie. He played well in preseason, but to be honest, I don't look at preseason as a standpoint of how well they're going to be. I think you have to wait and see to the regular season when they actually have game plans. But yeah, all in all, Devin Bush did show flashes of making plays. He did his homework. He's shown it on the field, and this defense is gonna be tough to beat. I really believe that. I think. Pass defensive-wise, when you have a corner opposite Joe Hayden by the name of Steve Nelson, I think a lot of teams are going to target him just like they did in Kansas City, and they're going to pick him apart a little bit. Their best safety, Sean Davis, is also hurt as we speak, but he should be healthy before the season even gets here. And I look for a lot of highlights from Sean Davis. I think he's a very underrated safety and one of the best in the league. But all in all, I think the defense will still be solid. They're still going to be able to stop the run well. They're going to be able to rush the passer just like they do, but they just might be a little shaky in the cornerback play.
Mike Tackett joins in. He says, does Ryan Shazier count against Pittsburgh's cap? I'm not sure. I'm trying to look it up here, but it's
Ryan Shazier
funny.
is still, I believe, on the roster. So his cap still is there, but here's the thing: is he doesn't have a huge contract either.
Just go.
So, I still believe that he's still on for pay. I think they kept him on the roster on purpose to help him out financially. But it's not something crazy. Where
$473,000.
There you go. He's still on his rookie deal. So.
Yep.
It doesn't matter to them. They can keep him on until his last year, which has got to be coming up soon.
Yeah.
And then they'll have to wait and see where he is physically. I mean, it's already miraculous how this guy has fought and worked hard to get back to even walking. I mean, that all is a miracle in itself. So, do I think he'll ever come back to the league? I think he suffered too catastrophic of an injury where I think he could be able to come back and be the player he once was. So, I mean, it would be amazing. It would be a great story, but I just don't see it.
All right, now it's Joe. Let's go take a look at your picks now. Who do you have in this, just to kind of predict maybe, just get who you think the way this division plays out here?
Well, I know it's going to be surprising to some people, but I'm telling you, I really believe in what Freddie Kitchens, what John Dorsey has assembled here on this team. I think that we've seen them make a push last year, and how well they played against a lot of teams that we didn't expect them to play well with. Didn't really know what we had in Baker Mayfield as a rookie. He panned out out of the gate, and then you add more weapons to help him, and add a little bit more upgrades on the defensive side. I think that might push them over the top here. I think they can do it, and they can win this division this year. Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm not ready to say all they're done because they lost Antonio Brown. Bell's not there. There's going to be a lot of changes. They're a team that I still think they're a well-run organization. They know how to utilize the pieces that they have, and I still think that even though they have a super tough schedule, I still think that they're going to be in that play for the second spot in the division, maybe a wild card. And then after that, it's really tough because when you got the Bengals and the Ravens, you got two different teams that you're looking at. You know, the Ravens, they got a lot of youth on that defense coming back, replacing the likes of Terrell Suggs and C.J. Mosley in that aspect. Still think they're going to be a solid defense. But offensively, I have concerns about Lamar Jackson. I don't think he can be the quarterback that they need him to be, especially when it comes down to he has got to throw the ball. He runs too much for my liking. He's inaccurate with the ball deep. So I think that offense might be one-dimensional. They might struggle a little bit. And the Bengals, it's a completely new offense. Don't know what to expect. But in the end, they have a lot of veterans on that team, so I think that might maybe just propel them just over the Ravens in this. So there you have it.
There you go. I'm going to agree with Joe on this one too. And again, there's spots here where you could flip flop. I think the Bengals and the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to take a tick down here as well, as like Joe said. Yeah. And I think it's more tough. Of last season was they lost like 5 straight or so, and then they made the switch, and it was just what they needed to give a different look to other teams. Weren't able to see this, and it was kind of a reliever for them, and it propelled them to get somewhere. But now, again, people have seen it. Now they can kind of put game plan towards it and buckle down, and because, again, this team was losing games before, he came in. And so, I mean, for them to try to be spectacular and get that much better, it's hard for them to see it.
A completely different element to their team.
Yeah, and again, the questions with Zach Taylor and his offense, what's going to go on the Bengals, but I like their personnel too and what they're doing, so I can see them leapfrogging these guys. The only problem I have here with the Steelers is I looked at their schedule. It looks so tough. And if they're able to win a bunch of these closer games against some of these tough teams that they're playing, all like playoff game teams. I mean, they have the New England Patriots week 1, so that'll be tough. So either they could go in this thing with 0-1, or they can pull out a win. I think it's in New England. It'll be tough for the Steelers here, but if they can win enough, I see them finishing second here in this division. And the Cleveland Browns, I'm really liking what they're doing here too, and I've looked at their schedule too as well, and I think their schedule is very favorable to them, and it sets them up for success with the addition of the players that they've had and the talent.
Right.
So I think it is the lining up perfectly for the Cleveland Browns to have success. So I like them there in this division. So let's move on to the NFC North here. And one of the teams we saw on the rise a year or so ago was the Chicago Bears. And then they go and trade for Khalil Mack, and they got even better too. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy what this team has done. It shocked a few people. They go 12-4 last year. You saw Mitch Trubisky start to get better again, a little more comfortable, make the quicker throws on the reads, not waiting forever. Oh, I see the guy, but that's too late. Take off running. Right. And, he's got the talent around him. Taylor Gabriel here again a second year. Allen Robinson. Cordarrelle Patterson comes here from the New England Patriots now. How are they going to fit him in? A lot of people are excited about Riley Ridley, Calvin Ridley's brother here. I mean, that'll be exciting to see where he fits along in this. Anthony Miller, a guy who really shined last year too, another year with this team. They lose Jordan Howard over to the Philadelphia Eagles. They get Mike Davis, but another guy who they have who's really youthful, they grabbed in the 3rd round in this draft was David Montgomery. And Matt Nagy loves to use these young little running backs and little toys for him to have fun with. So let's see what happens with this guy and where he plays along in his team. So I love this offense, what he does with it. and they're just really exciting to watch. And this defense just smothering. Again, you can name the list of guys here. Even Prince of Nakamura has found a spot here with this defense, and a nice where he looked like he wasn't even going to find a team. He comes back and signs with the team again. Comes back another year on top of that to join Eddie Jackson. You got HaHa Clinton Dix now that comes with this team after they move on from
Adrian Amos.
Adrian Amos, yep. And again, Roquan Smith now here for a full year. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. I'm excited about this Bears team. What's the rest of this division going to do, Joe?
I don't know. Bale. let's just say let's give him the division. But all in all, this team they're coming back again together. They're healthy. You had a lot of guys go down, especially on the offensive line last year, and even then they still conquered this division. They went 5-1 in their own division, which is when you win your division 9 times out of 10 you're making the playoffs and you're winning everything. So, unfortunately, what happened? They got knocked out right away as soon as they got in against the Eagles.
Eagles,
yep. Who figured?
Yeah,
but here's the thing: is how can you not be excited for the Bears right now? I saw great promise from Anthony Miller at wide receiver last year. He was a rookie, and to be able to come in and make a contribution like he did last year, he's going to get just better from here on out. So coming back his second year, he's going to take another step forward, going to become another go-to weapon for this team. Riley Ridley, I think, was almost like a steal in a sense. So, coming from Alabama, another guy who, if they develop him the right way, they could have themselves quite a nice pair of young studs at wide receiver in Ridley and Anthony Miller. Taylor Gabriel, what can you say? Super fast, guy's hard to stay with. But Mitch Trubisky, another year in the same offense. It's going to help him out even more with all these weapons. Jim mentioned David Montgomery. Now, David Montgomery, from everything I'm hearing out of Chicago, this dude is a man's man. He's a beast of a running back, a bull who just runs through tackles. He doesn't go down easy, and they might have found another gem in this draft. Mike Davis, I think, is a guy who, he's a very physical back, but has some speed to go with that. And Tariq Cohen is like a joystick on the field. Yeah. If you get him in open space, good luck trying to tackle him one-on-one. It's almost impossible. Defensively, what can you say? The best defense in football. Hands down. There's not. You go looking up and down this roster. Where is a weakness? Where? Hakeem Hicks, one of the best D tackles in football. Eddie Goldman, one of the best nose tackles. Khalil Mack, great pass rusher, great guy to come off the edge. Roquan Smith, rookie from last year. Good God. He played like an absolute 10-year veteran all-pro. This kid has got a very bright future in Chicago. And, what can you say? Doesn't the shoe fit? Another great linebacker in Chicago. That's pretty much what they always find. They find great linebackers. You look at Brian Urlacher, one of the Hall of Famers. Leonard Fournette, another interesting pass rusher off the edge. And their secondary. Like you were saying, Amos is gone. What do? Oh, that's okay. We're gonna swap players. We're just gonna swap safeties, guys. Yeah. We'll take HaHa Clinton Dix, who's 26 years old. He's still young, still in his prime, and when he gets healthy, he'll be better than Adrian Amos. You know what I mean? Even though Amos is an underrated young guy, but all in all, veteran leadership on the back end, great job. Eddie Jackson, oh my God, this kid, not only is he a young safety, but the Bears just did everything right to assemble this defense, and it seems like they're doing everything right for this offense. All in all, this team is going to be tough to beat this upcoming season.
Swervo Gaming brings up here, Sproles another year. I don't think enough people don't even talk about Darren Sproles enough. To like they talk about Tom Brady. He's still doing it. How about the running back position, where like the average length of a running back is like snap. 3 years, and this guy still makes a roster and still makes plays and can keep it going. It's amazing what he's been able to do in his career. And you talk about the Bears last year. Yeah. What happened? Cody Parker. That's what happened.
And that's not his fault.
Their little weakness.
Let's just say right now,
that's true.
We've evaluated the tape, and for everybody out there that keeps saying, Cody Parkey sucks, he missed no, he didn't miss a field goal. If you pay attention and you look at look at the slow-mo view. You'll see a hand go up by a D tackle, and he ends up just grazing the football with his fingertips, just enough to knock it off course. Because to be honest with you, I think if he doesn't tip the ball at all, I think it's going in all day long. I mean, he just got it enough to where it knocked it off course, and that's why it hit the flagpole. So,
and that is sometimes that's all it takes.
I'm sorry.
I know by being a carpenter, wood finisher, if you're off by a 16th here, by the time you get way down here, it could be a half inch because of that little bit. It keeps spreading.
I'm
so
not
that
that
little bit of
smart. I can't
changery. He
understand.
changed the trajectory a little bit. By the time he gets to the goalpost, it's just off that little bit to get the double doink. And and now we're moving on to the Detroit Lions here. At times, what's funny is they've beat like former Patriots themselves, but Patriot coaches. They learned how to beat the Patriots, but they couldn't beat anybody else.
That's what they
the
do.
Lions. You know what I'm saying?
what they do.
They get blown out by the Jets, and Matthew Stafford was just trying to find people to throw to here and there. Marvin Jones hopefully can stay healthy for a whole season. Kenny Galladay, again, this guy is the lights-out player here. Something special about him to look at. Danny Amendola steps up and joins this squad here from the Patriots too as well. So you can see there is the pattern here with Matt Patricia. He also tries to add former Patriots players here and tries to live by the Patriot motto. And he kind of rubs some of the players the wrong way in a sense too. He wanted to try and enforce the Patriot way, be accountable for your job, this and this, and got hard on some people. Some people didn't like it, and those people aren't there anymore either.
Right.
No. So he's trying to build the same type of thing here with
Fall
these
in
guys.
line.
Yep, they get Devin Kennard from the Giants last year I think. And I don't know. This team, I think, is still on the buildings blocks here. I don't see a lot coming out of here. It's unfortunate for Matt Stafford because I think some of his talent is going to be or wasted a bit here. I mean, he did go for that big contract, so he'll get paid for it. But with this division, the way it's set up, with the Vikings and the Packers and the Bears being as good as they are, unfortunately, I don't see them as good as those three teams, so they're kind of going to get shut out here. They do have Jesse James for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so that's another excellent weapon for him to have here at tight end. Let's see if they can utilize the tight end because they also draft T.J. Hawkinson, who a lot of people were excited about. So he has a few weapons at tight end. Will they use him? Who knows? And a running game, been non-existent. But they got C.J. Anderson, who looked good in the playoffs last year. Helped out for the Rams, was jumping on there. Hopefully almost end up getting a, Super Bowl win out of it. He joins the squad, but will they get the running game going? We'll see. Kerryon Johnson. Can we see a full season Kerryon Johnson? I'm excited to see what this guy can do. But if he stays on the field, watch this guy to make some big plays. So what do you think about the Detroit Lions, Joe?
I mean, there's not much to think about them, to be honest. I mean, they didn't do enough in the offseason. I thought this is a team on the rise. They go ahead and they trade Golden Tate halfway through the year. Matt Stafford losing his mind, throwing stuff in the locker room because they traded Tate. That was one of his favorite targets. Now you look at, we're paving the way for Kenny Galladay. That's great. I mean, he does have great chemistry with him. But all in all, now what did you do? You just go ahead and, we're going to replace Golden Tate with Danny Amendola. Okay, that's great. I think that's a downgrade. Kenny Galladay is an upgrade in terms of getting him on the field. I think he's a deep threat. He's a guy that's a very big receiver. Offensive line, this has been a big issue with them, and it's not like they have bad players. That's the thing that's interesting. I almost got to blame the offensive line coach at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't think the guys are being taught well. I don't know what it is, but they have talent. Mm-hmm. Frank Ragnow coming back for a second year at center. He was like lights out, great player. Taylor Decker just seems to get injured every year, and that's going to be concerning because that's one of your prime positions there at tackle. You need him to be there. Kenny Wiggins. Who the hell is Kenny Wiggins? He's a free agent that they just picked up from the Chargers to play guard. I'm sorry, but I don't think he's going to do very well. I think he might give up a lot of pressure up the middle. Graham Glasgow, he's a solid veteran. He's always been there. Ricky Wagner, also a good right tackle for them. So, all in all, they got their ups and their downs throughout that offensive line core. That's going to be a little bit of concern there. But T.J. Hawkinson, this is interesting to me, is they took a tight end in the first round. Mm-hmm. and they don't throw to tight ends.
Yeah.
I'm confused a little bit
They're
here.
making a change.
They did have Erica Braun last year. They had Luke Wilson Jr. from Seattle.
The year before they had
And-
Erica Braun, not last year.
2 years ago. But that's what's interesting is
He
they
was there
had
for a few
Erica
years.
Braun,
Yeah.
and Erica Braun was like, he was a underrated receiving tight end talent. Did they throw to him? Once in a while, but not enough to make a difference. So, and last year, again, didn't throw the tight. Didn't. It's concerning to me because now what did they do this year? Oh, you know what? We need more tight ends. Let's sign J.C. James. Let's draft T.J. Hawkinson, who
Well, it's the Patriot way.
I'm very high on because I think they got themselves possibly the next great tight end. That's what they needed in New England, and they could quite possibly have it in T.J. But you got to throw the ball to him. So that to me is like a little conflicting. And then you bring up Kerryon Johnson. I'm not worried about him. When he was a rookie last year, when he was on the field, he was being able to run the ball.
Yeah.
He was finding pockets, catching the
absolutely.
ball in the backfield. And what did they do? They cleared the way. They end up getting rid of Theo Riddick because of it. I think they have all the confidence in him. He's going to be an impact player this year. And then you go to the defense. Now, the defense is interesting because Damon Harrison wants a new deal.
Yeah, I know. That's a joke.
I mean, come on, Damon. You're at the end of your career. Everybody knows it. You're not going to get paid big bucks. So just play, and be happy about it, that you're on a team. A'Shawn Robinson, really stout D tackle. And here's one of their biggest ads in free agency is Trey Flowers.
Yeah.
They managed to steal Trey Flowers from the Patriots. They weren't going to pay him big money, so they were like, hey, come to Detroit. You know me. Come on, we go way back. Well, I used to be a Patriot. Just come on over.
Yeah.
Mike Patricia's like all welcoming arms and everything. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with you. You used to be my defensive coordinator. Let's do it. And I think they added that's a huge upgrade for them already.
Yeah, no more Ziggy Ansah, and you get Trey Flowers. I'm down with that.
Trey Flowers is healthy all the time.
Yeah.
He's going to be there for you. He's going to rush the hell out of the passer. He's going to make plays. So very high on him. And the linebacking core, I'm a little kind of worried about. They do have Gerard Davis, who I'm really high on. Devon Kennard, who came from the Giants. Decent player, a solid player. But Christian Jones is who you pick up in free agency to possibly be your starter on outside. I don't know. Guy's been around the league. He hasn't really ever started. So that's a little concerning for me. And then the secondary. You look at Miles Killebrew, young safety, good player. But all in all, like their corners, after Darius Slay, not really high on any of their corners. Guys are still developing so that's a weakness for them. So, I mean, I think all in all, I don't think they did enough in the offseason. They added some nice pieces. Don't get me wrong. T.J. Hawkinson I'm very high on. Kenny Galladay, now he's starting. That's a nice move, but I just don't think they're going to do enough against this very competitive division.
Yeah, so moving on to the Green Bay Packers here. Now, again, Matt LaFleur, that's the question. How are him and Aaron Rodgers going to meld together? We've already heard a little bit murmurings going back and forth. Aaron Rodgers doesn't see why he can't audible out of plays and here and there and wish he's had more control. And he's been very vocal in the offseason a little bit here, too, and people doubting his manlyhood here and there. And like you said in the draft, or in the drop, where he's requested that the fans drink more beer so get everybody pumped up, and they allow that.
I don't think that would work out well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So maybe he wants to say again because he failed miserably on the beer chugging. He's like, I don't care. You guys should have more beer then. And maybe he's going to practice with everybody.
Maybe.
Here we go. Mike Tackett's bringing up the Detroit. Don't forget about Detroit adding D-tackle Mike Daniels. Oh, yeah, that's right, from the Green Bay. Veteran, NFC North, definitely an underrated signing. That was a great pickup. I mean, if I was the Giants or some other teams, I would have brought him in because he was a great pickup there, too. And you're kind of like... I was kind of surprised that they released him. You know what I mean?
But that's the interesting thing about all that is because it was a salary cap move. He was getting, paid a lot of money, and they didn't want to pay him that anymore, even though he's a Pro Bowl D tackle. I understand he's a little bit older. He's in his 30s. There was some concern of how long how long he was going to stay on the team and for that kind of money. So they saved themselves some money. But in turn, Mike Daniels, he had a lot of suitors. Now, when he was out there and being a free agent and all, he chose to go to Detroit. Why? Now he gets to play the Packers twice. He gets to prove to them that they should have never gave up on him and should have kept him. So, Mike Daniels, great signing by Detroit. But, I wonder how they're going to utilize all the guys that they have, because does that pave the way for Devon Harrison to be cut?
Yeah, because do they run a 3-4?
No, it's a 4-3.
Was it 4-3?
It's a 4-3.
I was going to see how that's going to work out, because, again, those are both, veterans. I'm like, what do you do after that? And if Snacks Harrison wants, another
Harrison,
bigger contract,
you got A'Shawn Robinson.
What are you
both
doing?
There.
I don't need this.
A'Shawn Robinson has to be a starter.
Yeah.
He's young. He's proven.
You gotta
he's there.
get your youth in.
Damon Harrison, I would be a little worried now, because that could easily say, hey, you know what? We're paying Mike Daniels. Mike Daniels is better than you now. So we're going to just flat out cut you.
Yep.
Have a nice life.
Yep. See ya. Yeah, I agree. All right, in regards to the Packers here, Mike Tackett says 2017 second-round pick safety Josh Adams is now on the verge of not making the team. After his trade demands before camp started, I think he's just more fuel for Brian Gutekunst to drop him. But now if only their defense as a whole could stay healthy, yes. We're excited about this defense and how it looks going forward here. They do draft Darnell Savage here in the first round. That was a great pickup for them. Like Joe said, the trade now, Clinton Dix, they've got Adrian Amos here now. They picked him up, rather. They just basically swapped, like you said. So
through free
he's
agency,
through free agency. He's going to take his spot, like you said. Josh Jones here. Now you've got Adrian Amos now, who just came in and now basically just took your spot, bro. So now you're like, I was demanding this. They just kind of just replaced me right there. So now, technically, I do have to try hard to try and make this team or show them what I can do here. Sneakily, they got Tramon Williams here bouncing in here too as well. Preston Smith. Kenny Clark on defense. This offense here is the question, though, with this team. That's the only thing. I'm happy with their defense the way it goes. But on offense, Jimmy Graham, he's pissed off about everybody questioning him and how he's going to do and stuff. Yeah, again, I hope he can flourish in this offense and what it potentially could be. But Matt LaFleur's offense didn't work with Marcus Mariota running it and stuff and trying to make opportunities for him. I'm hoping that seeing it is Aaron Rodgers, they can produce points and do things like that. Because last year, Tennessee Titans, they were like last in points and stuff on offense. They were horrible. Right. So you're trying to tell me you're going to bring this guy who's supposed to be a guru, but they couldn't get anybody to score, and he's going to make everybody score here? I just hope so, just because you got Aaron Rodgers, and he can he's tooled to make it work.
Well, let's be honest. They got a better roster altogether.
That's the truth, too. And which I was going to bring up some of these wide receivers that they have, too. A lot of crazy names, but they're all great young players here with Valdez Scantling. And you got Equanimeous St. Brown, too, here. Geronimo Allison to make his mark this year. And Devontae Adams, a guy who's just proved himself out here and now became the true starter.
One of the best.
And Aaron Jones, this is some of the key here too, how they need to mix it up with running altogether along with the passing. That's where Mike McCarthy failed last year, to where he would just run some of these, again, just short passes, and everybody he got too predictable. They couldn't run the ball. I want to see him run the ball this year.
They
so
didn't
see how
run
it
the
goes
ball.
Here, so
that's just what they just didn't run.
Just didn't. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how it goes here too. Mike Tackett says if A-Rod stays healthy, Devontae Adams is very capable of catching 120 balls. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Jones, Packers.
Devontae Adams, he's one of the elite receivers. You have to. He's definitely right up there in the argument of top 5 in the league. The guy's made a name for himself. Going 3 years ago is kind of like when he exploded on the scene and started to really come into his own. And Aaron Rodgers' absolute favorite now at this point. He's his go-to guy. But the interesting thing is they have some amazing names for the rest of this receiving core. Marcus Valdez Scantling, who's starting to make a name for himself in training camp. Coaches are very high on him, as well as Geronimo Allison started to have a little bit of a breakout year last year. He aims to return and be a big-time contributor on this offense, possibly the second starter across Devontae Adams. And Equanimeous St. Brown, a guy that you should get a little bit more familiar with. He looks to also come in and make a name for himself. He definitely has the talent, and let's just they've done a fantastic job of finding talent to help out Devontae Adams. One concern I have, though, is their offensive line. Brian Bulaga announced he's retiring. Billy Turner, he's a free agent from the Denver Broncos. I'm not really high on him. I think he's a decent guard, but not one of the best for sure. So that right side of that offensive line is going to go through a little bit of speed bumps here to try to find answers there to protect Aaron Rodgers. Tight end. I have to say this, as disappointing as Jimmy Graham has been since he was with Green Bay last year, I thought for sure teaming up Aaron Rodgers with Jimmy Graham, it was going to be a beautiful thing. I thought it was going to be a match made in heaven. Being able to throw it to Jimmy Graham and let him do what he does after the catch was going to be something to be seen. Unfortunately, Mike McCarthy didn't agree, didn't throw the ball to Jimmy G, didn't utilize him a lot. That's a little concerning. But now you have a completely new offense. So who knows? You look at Tennessee's offense when Matt LaFleur was there. He heavily utilized the tight end. He used Delaney Walker when he was healthy. Then it moved on to Jonnu Smith, took over. They drafted a kid from Texas A&M and Jace Sternberger, who I am absolutely in love with. I think this guy could develop to be the next great tight end in this league. A guy who has very similar traits as a Travis Kelce from the Chiefs. So I'd watch out for him this year to contribute as a rookie. And you bring up a great point. You got to run the ball, right? I mean, if Matt LaFleur has learned anything towards the end of last year, we have a running back by the name of Derrick Henry on Tennessee. Oh, my God. And look at the production he had. You have a better roster right now, a better quarterback, better receiving core, better everything. Run the ball, become more of a balanced offense. And I think this Green Bay offense from last year could take a humongous step in the right direction and become a very almost like a juggernaut on the field for Green Bay coming up in this season. And defensively, like Jim was mentioning, we're very high in the youth that they've implemented on the defense, some moves that they've made, some changes that they've made. Oren Burks, left inside linebacker, watch out for him. He's going to be another name that you need to watch out for. Preston Smith they added from the Redskins. I think that's a nice addition to this linebacking core. They get rid of the old, in with the new now. Zadarius Smith, another huge addition for this linebacking core. A guy that fits 3-4 scheme perfectly. Both those guys, Preston Smith and him. And also keep an eye out for Kyle Fackrell. He's a backup. He's a third round pick from 2016. He's going to be in the mix as well. And then you look at this young secondary, Darnell Savage. I can't say enough about him coming out of this draft. He was kind of like a sleeper. No one really knew a lot about him coming out of Maryland, and he suffered a catastrophic injury in college. A lot of people kind of said, "Oh, well, he's banged up. Don't know if he's going to be back." Watch out for him. He could make a big-time impact as a rookie at safety. Adrian Amos, Kevin King playing cornerback. Yair Alexander, great corner. He's developing nicely as a shutdown type of corner. And here's another thing is everyone kind of keeps forgetting about Josh Jackson. He was drafted the same year as Yair Alexander, and last season was another guy who was on the come up of being a nice shutdown type of corner as well. He's a little shorter than you would like in some defensive schemes, but nonetheless, great cornerback. So I like what they're doing here. They're implementing some youth and look like that the defense is going to take another step forward. They're going to be a pretty top-notch defense to contend with.
Yeah, now moving on to the Minnesota Vikings here, a team that kind of looking at their record last year, they sneakily kind of did it because it seemed to me that they were underachieving a bit. At the same time that Kirk Cousins was overachieving, or at least playing up to his contract and playing well, but still didn't finish well enough to make the playoffs. So this is an interesting team because they are on they're on the ticker right now. They've got Kirk Cousins for a limited time here. This defense together,
act now.
Yeah, act now. They have to right now. This is the season. They've got to get it done. And again, they've got a lot of the same players, basically the same lineup here on defense here. They're able to get and keep Kyle Rudolph here. They do go and draft Irv Smith Jr. here at tight end too, so he wasn't sure what that led for Kyle Rudolph, but he comes back still either way. You still have Adam Thielen, Stefan Diggs here too. Garrett Bradbury. See, they make the move at the offensive line to try and shore that up a little bit here, which is good for them. Which they needed to. The one complaint here from Kirk Cousins is that he's got sweaty thighs. and he's afraid that he might fumble the ball, getting the
He
on the
was
transfer.
complaining about how
He
much he
was.
sweats.
And that's always a concern, I guess, when you're quarterback. So I don't know. He's just got sweaty buns. Like, oh, thanks, bro. But the main concern, I guess, for this offense here that I have, again, is just that Dalvin Cook, when he was on the field, he looked great. But getting injuries, and he's been working hard in the offseason, running on the beach, making cuts. I hope he can come back healthy so he can be that elite player, we would think that he could be. And they go and draft Alexander Madison, too, here in the 3rd round to help out. They grab Amir Abdullah from Detroit, too, who's looking for a spot. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with that running position here. But for a time that the Minnesota Vikings, like you said, now's the time. You need to act now. It's just interesting to see where this team might end up in this division.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is they do. The window's closing right now. Kirk Cousins on his last year of his deal, his fully guaranteed $30 million deal. And he is a good quarterback. He plays well for them. He has all 3 years, or I should say all 2 years, and now he's going into his 3rd season. Now, this is going to be interesting, too, is after this season. What are they going to do with this team? Because do you try to re-sign a Kirk Cousins and keep him on the team as your quarterback? Do you move on from him and try to find the future? That's going to be interesting. They're coming back with pretty much the same exact team. And as the same exact team last year, they went 8-7-1 or something like that. So if that's what's going to happen again with all this talent, I'm sorry, but when you look at this roster on paper, they're the most talented team in this division. You could make that argument. There's not a whole lot of weakness, with this team. Offensively, they got running backs, they got receivers, they got a solid offensive line, especially with the draft pick and Garrett Bradbury, who I think is going to be a stud. And Dalvin Cook, I know some people are worried about him. Some people are worried about his injuries. He's had 2 injuries in 2 years, and he's been banged up in all 3 seasons, but I think that this kid, he's gonna be very explosive, just like he was as a rookie. We saw flashes of him as a rookie and how devastating of a runner that he is in between the tackles, on the outside, catching the ball. Super fast guy. You gotta watch out for him. But even though they do have insurance, they do have a guy like he was mentioned, Amir Abdullah, who at times in spot play for the Minnesota Vikings looked really, really good. He stayed healthy. He played very well for them. And a rookie that they drafted this year in the 3rd round is Alexander Madison. This kid, I was high on him coming out of Boise State. He's kind of like, I guess you could, if you had to pick a player that kind of resembled him, I guess like a J.J. Ajayi. He's that kind of stature. He's a big body guy, but he has speed to go with it. So I think they're going to be okay with that running back core. And then defensively, I mean, on paper, there's not really many weaknesses except for cornerbacks. I mean, Trey Waynes, they're not very high on. We've already seen that they're trying to shop Trey Waynes now leading up to the season. Maybe somebody takes him. Maybe he's a last-second cut. You never know. Mike Hughes, he's on the physically unable to perform list. This is a guy that they were counting on to come into this season and start opposite Xavier Rhodes, to kind of groom him to be that next shutdown corner for Minnesota. And, Harrison Smith is returning. The whole gang is returning. Anthony Barr, who kind of snubbed the New York Jets in free agency, agreed but then disagreed and went back to Minnesota. So all in all, they're returning with the majority of their defense that they've had, their successful defense. But last year they took a downturn, and it was disappointing, to be honest. So with the same guys returning, I don't know. I don't know if I'm really buying into this team this year. I was all in on them last year. I think I had them winning the division last year, and they fell way below my expectations. I was expecting them to be up here, and they end up okay. So, but all in all, this roster, they're still a good roster on paper. Let's see if they got to make it work on the field. They got to get some results.
Mike Tackett brings up here, Oren Burks has a torn pectoral muscle. He'll miss majority of the season. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the linebackers. Who knows? We
said Kyle Fackrell. Watch out for him.
Now, the interesting thing, when we were watching the draft, at Katie Burns, we were interested to see what team was going to go and get Rashawn Gary. and the Packers did. We were interested to see how this, because there was question marks all over about this guy.
Yeah.
And I know you were afraid that maybe the Raiders would
take
grab him.
Yeah, I
but
was
they
like,
grab
no.
him now. Are we going to be able to see any of Gary this season at some point fixed in any of this with the lack of depth?
Here's the
So-
interesting thing about Rashawn Gary. The latest on him is that he's lost a shit ton of weight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's dropped pounds like crazy, and I think it's because they're grooming him to be a 3-4 linebacker. They do. That's one thing that he's always had on his side. He's very athletic for his size, close to 300 pounds, and was able to move like he did. Very fast on the 40 time. So they're thinking if they shed all that weight off him and convert him to a 3-4 linebacker, he would be a great pass rusher for them coming off the edge, standing up. I think that's a great game plan for him. I'm not really sure if he could do anything else. Now, in terms of pass coverage, that's going to be concerning because you just took a first-round draft pick. And I agree with the decision to make him a 3-4 linebacker, but he's one-dimensional at this point. And to groom him and develop him to play something he's never played before, to be able to drop back in coverage and hope that he can make plays that way, I think that's asking a lot of him. I think over the next couple of years, he could develop into a decent pass coverage linebacker. But all in all, this year, his rookie year, it's going to be strictly pass rush. So being a first-round pick, I think you want a full-time starter. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I think, who knows, maybe he ends up starting now that Oren Burks. And Oren Burks, though, is an inside linebacker. So
right.
Don't know whether he's going to play outside or inside. Inside, there's a lot more he has to know and be smart about. And that's the other knock on him coming out of college, is that mentally he couldn't get there. He's not extremely smart enough to break down a defense and figure out where he needs to be and what his assignment is. So I'm interested to see what Green Bay's next steps with him is. I fully expect now that he shed so much weight off, he's going to just be pushed to the outside. And we'll have to wait and see. We'll see how it all works out for Green Bay in the end.
Mike Tackett joins in here and says that as of a few hours ago, the Vikings are shopping former first-round wide receiver Laquan Treadwell. He is currently the 5th wide receiver on the depth chart. Talk about a disappointment.
Absolutely. I mean, a guy for a first-round draft pick, for a guy to not even crack the starting lineup through all these years that he's been trying to develop. The problem with Treadwell, it hasn't been catching the ball. It hasn't been running routes. It's been his speed is lacked to be desired. He's slow. And I think a lot of times they kept trying to push him to the outside and being the number 2 guy, and it just never was working out. He has trouble, creating separation from the defensive backs. And I think a last-ditch effort would be to try to develop him as more of like a slot receiver. Keep him solely in the slot and try to develop him that way. Who knows? I mean, no one's going to give a high draft pick for him. It's like a 6th or 7th rounder all day long for that guy at this point. And for a team, there probably will be a team out there that's going to be willing to take a shot. You look at Baltimore Ravens, who we mentioned, looking for another receiver to add to that core. Maybe they go for a Laquan Treadwell, low risk, possibly a decent reward. I'm not going to say high reward, but again, they could maybe they could utilize him a little bit with their offense.
All right, so Joe, how are your picks going to show up here for this division, the NFC North?
Oh, you already know. It's the Bears all day long in this division. I'm sorry. The Bears' defense was one of the best, if not the best, last year. Very stout up front. There's not really a weakness throughout that whole starting lineup on that defensive scheme. They lose Adrian Amos in free agency and like, oh, that's okay. We got Ha-Ha on Dix. So they don't really lose anything. In fact, they might have just gained something with Ha-Ha. They gained experience. They gained a guy who's going to be out there and playing hard for them. Green Bay, I think Green Bay makes it, they make a little bit of a jump here. They're not going to be able to win this division, I don't think, because there's some uncertainty with this offense. Are they going to run? Are they going to be about balanced offense? Are they going to still be pass heavy because they have Aaron Rodgers? A lot of question marks there, even though they have a nice youthful defense. Minnesota Vikings, again, with basically the same personnel, and for them to be as disappointing as they were last year, Mike Zimmer still the head coach, I think it's going to be almost kind of the same thing that we're going to witness. I think that even though they've added a rookie tight end, re-signed Kyle Rudolph, I wonder how that's going to all work out. But all in all, I think they're a team that they went pretty much 500 last year. And with the same talent, I don't know, with this tough defense is the way it is, they might only be best at third place. And the Detroit Lions, again, they just didn't make enough adjustments. Again, it seems like offseason after offseason, this team just doesn't do enough to help its players. I feel really bad for the likes of Matt Stafford, a quarterback that's been there for years and gives it his all, one of the better quarterbacks in this league. And quite simply, they just can't get it done. So not enough upgrades on that team, even though they had some nice ones with Trey and that sort of aspect. But I don't know. I just think that they're going to end up falling, at the bottom when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and same thing with me with the picks. This is, I think, both of us, this week we picked all the same. It's pretty amazing. All right, this is how it actually finished last year, too. It was the Bears, then the Packers, and the Vikings, and the Detroit Lions. And I kind of see it laying the same kind of way here, too. Again, the Detroit Lions seem like they know where they want to go, but they're just not there yet. They're still in rebuild mode. And the Vikings, again, there's a lot of uncertainty still with me with this team. I don't trust some of these guys. Dalvin Cook being one of them. Is he going to be able to stay healthy? How are they going to perform? And Kirk Cousins, he was the shining star within this team, despite he has two great wide receivers to throw to and the tight end. It's great. So he's got the weapons, so he never had that at Washington.
No.
And I think that's what helped his numbers look so good, too, as well.
And that's the crazy thing is even when in Washington, he did well.
Yeah, he
even
did pretty
with nothing.
good. Yeah.
With nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, his go-to was pretty much Jordan Reed when he was healthy.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people are always down on Kirk Cousins, but, man, you look at the numbers and you look at his play.
Decent.
I get it. Sometimes he makes bonehead decisions in big games. I get that, but I don't think you can't say no quarterback has ever made a mistake before in big games. So, but all in all, he's a good quarterback. Top half of the league, definitely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then going back to this, the Green Bay Packers, again, I'm not sure about this offense. It potentially, it's like that gamble for me, almost like the gamble I took on the Chicago Bears last year. I said this defense was a top 10 defense.
Absolutely.
They're going to get better. And Mitch Trubisky, I like the way the offense is run with Matt Nagy. It's exciting. Right. I want to see this team do well, and I think they can. Mm-hmm. This team now, the Green Bay Packers, depending on what he can bring to this offense, if they run the ball finally, get it going with the additions they made on defense and getting that youth in there, getting rid of the old and Clay Matthews and all that stuff.
Right.
I like that, and it's exciting to me.
Yeah.
I would love to see Green Bay back in the playoffs here. Aaron Rodgers doing what he does best, and a Green Bay Packers-Bears rivalry strong.
That would be
awesome. This is what we want. You know what I'm saying? This is what we want. So that's why I have the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions, and definitely agree with Joe's picks, and now mine too as well. Mike Tackett. I think the ultimate deciding factor on the Bears winning the NFC North is if Trubisky can play consistently for 16 weeks. Yes.
And that's exactly what it is. I mean, your quarterback play is key. I mean, it's the most important position in football, and if your quarterback play isn't spot on, your team isn't going to do very well. So, absolutely. I think he has to take another step forward again this year. And if he does, I mean, he has weapons now. There's no excuses. He's got a great defense behind him. He's got, he's got some unique playmakers in the backfield for them. Again, I think the critical point, too, is as much as it is Mitch's team and it's up to Mitch to really keep this offense rolling, but offensive line's got to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big key for them. If they can manage to stay fairly healthy throughout the year, I think that this offense with Mitch Trubisky will definitely be hard to stop.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So that's our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Everybody out there, Mike Tackett, Swervo Gaming now too as well. Gary has been our MVP every week for the last 5 weeks, holding it strong. Will he be there next week? We don't know.
Just want to say real quick, thank you all know-it-alls for your continuing support week to week for us. I'm going to say this again, if you know anybody, if you're friends with, family friend, doesn't matter. If you know someone that loves football, go ahead and direct them our way. Send them to YouTube, Football on the Know Show. Have them subscribe to us. Tune in. Ring the notification bell for any updated, latest and updated content from us. And, go Know-It-Alls. Let's go.
Yep. Like, share, post, add friends. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube as well. And Tom Gozlowski, Get the Goz, is going to be with us next week, Joe.
He is.
It's going to be pretty amazing here. It's going to
gonna
be
be a
always
lot
a
of
good
fun.
time from ESPN Radio.
Always.
We're going to be talking NFC and AFC East. The exciting division. I know Swervo Gaming is going to be excited about that.
That's right.
We're going to have inside information from him about the camps, and too, because he went to visit the camps.
Yes,
so that's
sir.
coming next week. Hope to see you guys there next week, and thanks. We'll see you next time.
Good night, guys.
Join us next till Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.